We are live now. So, as I said, let's watch. Let's make this a family show.
It is a family show.
Okay, so now I'm going to mute my video window in the watch page so that I don't hear that. I caught that just in the nick of time. Oh, the nick of time.
Ah, very good. I'm going to do a better job with this bloody picture.
It looks fine.
Yeah, it's too much backlight. But I can't do much about that.
Need to get some studio lights. Hello, everybody in the chat room. We are pretty close to on time. However, the show will not start right away because we're still waiting for Miss Steph and Mr. Rick. And you'll see Tony, Dana, right there. He is joining us from Cancun.
Yes,
you know what?
I
don't have an intro music for Tony. I'm just going to have to use our generic Trololo music.
The generic Cancun music.
The Cancun. Well, what would be Cancun music? So you'll have to think of
Caribbean.
Yeah, Caribbean. Yeah, Caribbean music, of course.
Of course.
What is that? All right, so this is what you're going to get until we can come up with anything else. That'll have to do.
Sounds good to me. I think someone singing a Tyrolean mountain song is fine.
Yes, I do too. Yeah, but see, Dana is not always going to be in Mexico, people, so we can't just use Mexican Caribbean music.
Oh, what a shame.
It's got to be more appropriate to Dana himself.
Here comes Rick.
Hello, hello.
Hi,
hello,
Rick.
Hello.
We hear you.
Trying to figure out here what the deal is. Well, I am in suburban Virginia, so the internet is not exactly good. So I'm trying to see here.
What are you on your Surface?
You guys, no, on my iPad. You guys hear me okay though?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but it doesn't sound like it's picking up the. Are you using the ATR mic?
No, that's in some box somewhere.
Okay.
After the move.
Okay, so we're going to have to deal with your substandard audio. Okay, I get it.
I'm sorry about my substandard audio.
To go along with your substandard content.
Well, that's always substandard.
That is substandard Boeing.
Rick's thinking to himself, gosh, they always talk about the fact that they miss me, and now I'm getting nothing but grief from these people.
Yeah, that's right. So why did I bother coming back?
I know, right? No, just kidding. I love you guys.
We love you too. We miss you.
Miss you guys too. So we got Captain Nick, we got Captain Jeff. Who else we got on there?
We have Dana. First Officer Dana.
Hi, Dana.
AKA known as Tony.
Nice.
Tony. Boston.
That explains the Deflategate hat.
Oh, really?
Here we go.
Nah.
Oh, so that's what we're going to play, huh?
All right, we're going to play that. Rick, you Miami fan, you?
I'm just kidding.
No, you're not.
You know what we need?
Or am I?
We need some adult supervision. Steph, where are you?
She's apparently
Back in a sec.
Still driving.
Yeah.
This is going to be interesting, having 5 of us all on at once. It'll be hard not to talk over each other, but we'll try.
It is. What kind of speed am I getting here?
Well, you know what? I mean, we hear you fine. It's not picking up the video, but that may be because you're not getting good bandwidth. So that, we may just have to live with audio only for you.
Okay.
We all know.
I come all the way to Mexico, Rick, and I have to pay the extra bandwidth, and here I am.
Oh, thank you for doing that.
Nice. So you're down in you're down where right now?
Cancun, Mexico.
Ooh.
On the beach. So instead of being on the beach having a drink, I'm with you guys having a drink.
That's right.
Is that okay?
What could be better?
Oh, I don't know.
I can think of a few things
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
to do in Cancun that'd be better.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that was a rhetorical question. We're not supposed to really answer it.
Well, I'm here with you guys behaving myself.
There you go. Yep. And I just noticed we're live, so yep.
Oh,
Interesting.
And
Let me.
Jeff, I fixed my problem.
Oh, the bright light on the mic. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, most people use Viagra.
I don't know. I wouldn't know anything about that.
There you go.
Let's
Yes, I
see.
do.
This thing.
I
have
could
a
say
full-
so many things, but I'm not going to.
Oh, yeah, you can. You can. It's allowed.
So, are we still broadcasting? Because my Surface 3 that I have over here that I'm watching the chat room on is showing the video, but it's showing an error occurred. Please try
No.
again later.
No,
So
we're
maybe it's just my machine. That's fine. I don't
seems
need
to be
that.
coming out. Liz has just commented on my hat.
Ooh.
And was that an Atlanta Falcons hat?
Yeah.
Oh wow, where'd you get that? Atlanta?
Wow.
No, Cancun.
Hey, I'm pretty sharp. Sometimes.
Yes, very much broadcasting, Jeff.
Okay.
That's from
Okay.
Andrew
Good.
Fraser.
Good. Yeah. Hello. Thank you, Andrew Fraser. I don't see Andrew Fraser in there. Okay.
Yeah, Michael Kippers just said you are broadcasting.
Okay. Why am I not getting? Maybe it's just my Chrome tablet is not getting a signal. Maybe that's the problem.
Yeah, you should have got the black one.
The black one.
Right, instead of a chrome one.
Oh, okay.
Ha, 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 ha.
It's not actually. It's not a Chrome tablet. It's a Microsoft Surface tablet. That's what I mean to say. Yeah, that's weird. Yeah, we're not getting anything there. Okay, that's
Hey,
all right.
Jeff, more of an important question. You get any background noise on me at all?
Nope.
Okay, good.
Don't hear a thing.
Good.
What you got?
Well, I get the AC on because it's like 95 degrees down here in Cancun. So
Yeah, so that's the beauty of this. These dynamic microphones. They they really, keep all that noise out.
well, good. I want to check and make sure.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see here. Guess I'm going to have to pull up the chat room in my regular. No. Instead. That's okay. We can do that. Shut up. I'm saying that to me. Okay. I'm going to go.
Nick, you go any place interesting past trips?
No, Washington and New York last two trips. So nothing terribly good.
They put you up downtown in DC?
We stay up at near the zoo actually.
How
So-
fitting.
In the Omni showroom. So yeah, very fitting. Haha.
Well, for airline cruise, that is.
We
Not
were
just
there.
for you.
We were there just before Thanksgiving. In fact, we flew home on Thanksgiving Day. Oh, hello, Steph.
Hello.
There's
Hello.
quite a crowd
Hey.
tonight.
I know.
That is not me.
And I don't know if you saw in our exchange, Nick, that I figured out why my soundboard was doing what it was doing. There was one little,
Yes, you had
Thank
pushed the
you.
wrong button.
yeah, in the bottom left-hand corner of the window. I guess I must have accidentally pushed that, toggled it to the wrong thing.
Well done for sorting it out anyway. I know
Yeah.
it's frustrating you.
I mean, nuts. Okay, I think we have some music for everyone. Okay. Most excellent. Steph, you look smashing.
Thanks. I literally just came in the door from work. So
If you need to do something like feed Taco or do something like that, let us know.
Nope. I picked him up from doggy daycare, and he passed out as soon as we walked in the door with his bone. So
Excellent.
he's hopefully entertaining himself for a while. We shall see.
I'm sure we'll hear from him.
Eventually,
At some
yes.
point.
He'll get bored of that and need something. And, yeah.
Okay. Rick, are you still there? Yeah, I had a feeling. I hadn't heard from him in a while.
Nope.
There we
he's
go.
back.
Now
All
we're
right.
here, yeah. So what happened?
I don't know. Just you
We've
left.
got two of you now.
Yeah, I see two.
Very nice.
Ricks.
More,
Yeah. I was
more
just
Rick
saying,
all
you know,
the time.
have not heard from Rick in a while. I wonder if he's still with us.
I am.
You got the urban cool look there, Captain Nick.
Yeah,
Very nice.
definitely.
She's got all the street cred.
No, more like street crud.
Yeah.
Street crud.
That's
There you
more
go.
like me.
Was that a Falcons hat?
Yeah. Well
Jeez.
done.
Yeah, you need to get a Panthers hat. No,
yeah,
not
they're,
Panthers.
they're terrible this year. So
Yeah.
No,
they
that's
are.
the only hat that exists right there.
I'm not really a fan of that one either, but we'll let that slide.
Okay, guys. Looks like we have just a couple of things to talk about in the news. Unfortunately, two of them are kind of downers,
Mm-hmm.
but I believe we need to do that. And then we'll head over to the APG 248 folder and try to do as much of the feedback as we can.
Doesn't look like a huge folder, so I would have thought we'd have got through that.
It
Yeah, I
never
hope
does,
so.
but
Yeah, never, but it always seems we always go blab on and on and on about everything, and then it takes forever.
Yeah, it's
But-
true.
That's just the way it goes.
And there's five of us blabbing tonight. So.
Yeah, so it's going to be an extra long blabby show.
Yeah.
I'm just going to sit here and look pretty.
The
I
cock's
wanna hear from you
definitely.
That
too.
is-
Be fair, that's my job.
That's effortless for you, Steph. So
No, I'm working really hard at it. Don't let my secrets out. No.
Mhm.
Okay.
Oh, and
so-
those white teeth. Oh, jeez.
No, blinding.
So tell us, how do you get the? Oh, never mind. We've already covered that.
We
In
already
an earlier show.
We did.
Let's see. So I have that. I have that. I have our coffee fund stuff, and then you guys just jump in when you want to talk about something before we go to the coffee fund. Okay.
all right.
Okay.
Oh, ooh, excuse me. The beer's talking. Sorry. Okay, so now I'm going to turn my H5 recorder on, and I'm going to go over here and turn on the other recorders. That one's on, and that one is on as well. Okay. So that should be good to go. And now back to the Evernote screen, and here we go. Okay. It's time for somebody to get up. Okay. Airline Pilot Guy, episode 248.
Flight 209, are you clear for takeoff? Roger. LA, good morning. 123.9. Roger.
Hello, you're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show, the view from our side of the cockpit door. I'm Captain Jeff, your host, broadcasting live from Studio 214 in the Melbourne Airport Hilton Hotel and in lovely Melbourne, Florida. In this episode, a Lamia Bolivia Avro RJ-85 crash in Colombia, a CF-18 fighter crash in Canada. More news, feedback, the latest Miami Hick adventure, and a new Plain Tales episode, I Believe He Is Dead. So get all settled in. Tray tables and seatbacks in their upright and locked positions. Electronic devices powered on. Flight 248 is ready for pushback. Gosh, I was hoping that Captain Nick's not dead, is he? I just realized that perhaps that's not really the title of the Plain Tales episode. Maybe that's some kind of a message to me from the crew. Captain Nick, are you there?
I'm here, Jeff.
Okay, good. Okay, we'll get to you in a minute. Scared me.
From beyond the grave.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Airline Pilot Guys Show, an aviation podcast where we kind of focus mostly on the commercial aviation world, but we talk about all kinds of stuff in aviation, drones and all kinds of stuff, general aviation occasionally as well. And speaking of general aviation, joining us from South Carolina is a general aviation pilot, commercial multi-engine instrument-rated pilot, and also a doctor of physiatry, Dr. Steph.
That's right. Lovely intro as usual. Thank you, Jeff. I think that sums up pretty much everything I do here. And I'll keep it short today because you got a lot of people to introduce. So glad to be back for another show and looking forward to everything we're going to talk about today.
All right. Great to have you once again. Nice to have some adult supervision in our APG crew.
Do the best I can.
Okay. And also joining us from across the pond, Captain for... Oops. That's not the right one. I'm sorry, Captain Nick. I really didn't mean to play that one. Also joining us from across the pond, we have a captain for a European airline flying the wide bodies, A330, A340. We have Captain Nick.
Hi there, Jeff. First you turned out to be right. I think my autopilot had just kicked out.
Did it? Okay. So Captain Nick is hand flying his Airbus A340-600 very well, I should add.
Absolutely. So that's me, the Airbus guy. And Rick and I always love a bit of banter about Airbus and Boeing, but he knows the truth. He knows Boeing's behind these. So I thought I'd just get that one in before he arrived on the scene. Yeah, everyone, I'm sitting here back at home between trips. So back here in very chilly England, we've got about -9 degrees tonight. So I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit.
It's very cold.
I don't know. I checked
18?
in my car on the way here because it's actually very warm here, and it was 20 degrees Celsius. So,
Oh, really? Wow. So there's
68 Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
yes.
That's right. Well, it's a bit chilly tonight, so I might have to go and put a coat on in a minute. Yeah, great to be back. Thanks so much indeed, Jeff. Looking forward to a great show, as usual.
Yeah, we are all looking forward to it. And speaking of, you were talking about the Boeing Airbus row. We have in the other corner of the ring, you know him as Miami Rick. He is a pilot of the 747, the Queen of the Skies. Hello, Rick.
Hey everybody, Captain Jeff, Nate, Dr. Steph, and well, we all know that Captain Nick only has a little bit of Boeing envy, aircraft envy. We've all been there. But when you have to take out your frustrations of not flying a true aircraft, then that's what you do. Although he has flown a Boeing, and I've heard him say it was a fantastic airplane, the Boeing F-18. So he is a Boeing pilot after all. So
shoot. It's going to be a fun show. And
Glad
before you respond, Captain Nick, I want to introduce somebody else, but go ahead, Rick.
I was going to say that I'm glad to be back for 248 from not Miami, but a little town, say west of Richmond, called Charlottesville in Virginia. Beautiful out here, a little cold as well, but yeah, glad to be back. And 240 is going to be another great one.
Awesome. And then also joining us, the guy that calls himself Tony, but now he's going to fess up and he's going to use his real name, Dana. First Officer Dana is here with us, and he is coming to us from Cancun, Mexico. Hello, Dana.
Well, hello, guys. Jeff, Rick, Nick, Steph. Pleasure to join everybody on this broadcast for the first time on my own, but appreciate you guys taking the opportunity to allow me to join you guys remotely. I look forward to the opportunity to talk to you guys on 248, a little bit more of my background. I'm kind of more Steph. I get 3 captains over there. I'm more of a civilian guy. I don't know about Rick's background, but I'm a civilian guy. Jeff and Nick are both military guys. So I have a little unique aspect to how the airline business works and how, as a civilian person, you can excel into the airline world if you choose. So I think I bring a unique little background to the group, and I hope to contribute so that everybody can learn something maybe from me, or maybe not, because I don't know anything I'm talking about anyways.
That's true. Well, we don't either. So
As I said, just like everybody else.
Your secret's safe with us, though.
You
It's
know,
fine.
by the way, -9C happens to be minus 16 degrees Fahrenheit. I have my little handy card right here.
Ooh.
there you go.
I don't have to
Maybe
do
we're good
mental
for
math.
something. Yeah.
Quick way to
Rick,
do
by
it
the
though.
way,
You double that temperature and add 32, and then gives you a quick conversion. That's what I do.
or you can multiply by 5/9 and add 32, or you can just memorize the different set points. That's the way I do it.
Or you can be smart and just have a card on your lanyard and
Oh, you can just make up a
hang
number.
it.
Well, that's
That's
what I
what
do.
a lot of people do.
Just
noticed-
ballpark it.
Yeah,
You know,
guys do the
for me,
the guys
that's
do
like
the PA, and they say, the temperature is 75 degrees, and I'm thining, it's 20 Celsius. It's not 75 degrees.
68.
Yeah.
Close enough.
Uh,
Ballpark. I like that.
I said,
better.
well, how did you come up with that? And he goes, I don't know. I just made it up. So, as always, take with a grain of salt anything that you hear from your airline crew members. Well, great to have everybody here. So it's a big house here, a big panel, and ready to tackle some of the news and such. But before we do, some administrative details. The first thing I wanted to mention is I'm here in Melbourne. I'm on a 5-day trip, which I don't normally do, and I'm on day 2 of the 5-day. And yesterday was a very strong storm system came through the southern United States yesterday, and flying into Jackson, Mississippi. Luckily, the winds were going right down the right down the runway, but they were quite high velocity-wise. I think they were gusting to 40-something knots, and it was quite a ride. And about 4 minutes before we touched down, they were talking about 4 to 6 minutes before we touched down, they had a low-level wind shear advisory. But so we kept monitoring coming in, and we said to each other, okay, if we hear tower say that there's another low wind shear or a low altitude wind shear alert, then we're going to go around and then go somewhere and hold for a while and try it again, or come up with another plan. But we never heard them say anything about a low-level wind shear alert. All the way down is rough as a cob, all the way down to the runway, and got gusts of 20 knots or so at various points on the way down. No big airspeed losses, just gains. And so I just kept a lot of extra smash on the airplane, knowing that that runway to the airplane was going to be about twice as long as it was actually physically. So we got the thing down on the ground, and about a minute after we landed, another low-level wind shear alert. And I'm thinking, whew, got in just in time. So anyway, so that was interesting. And then we had quite a bit of wind and rain, et cetera, at Jackson, Mississippi after that. And today, relatively easy day. Again, we had to go through that weather system, but it wasn't too bad going through Atlanta and then here to Melbourne. And I got a chance to meet up with a long-time financial contributor to the Airline Pilot Guy show. He's been part of the Airline Pilot Guy community for quite some time. His name is Father Jeremiah, and I don't mention his name a lot because he's one of those who is a patron of the show, but he wants to be mostly anonymous. And so I normally respect that. Not always, though, because I'm talking about him right now. Anyway, he said, anytime you're in Melbourne, let me know, and we'll have lunch or dinner. And so I took him up on that, and we Ubered from the hotel here over to a place in India Atlantic or something like that, basically one of the barrier islands off of Melbourne, Florida, to a nice little place. Well, I think we talk about it in this little audio recording that I recorded just a couple hours ago. So let's take a listen. Hello, community. I'm with Father Jeremiah. He's a longtime Patreon patron of the Airline Pilot Guy show. I mean, for years now, he has been supporting the show and our efforts, and I got a chance to. He sent me a communication quite a while ago and said, "Hey, if you're ever in Melbourne, let me know. We'll go out for lunch or dinner or whatever." And I thought, okay. And it's been a while, but I finally got here to Melbourne, Florida. When I saw I had a nice long layover, I said, I got to contact Father. So I did, and we Ubered over here to Coaster's Pub and Beer Garden in, what is it called? India
Atlantic.
Okay. So, well, here's Father. Let you hear from him.
Hey, fellow APGers. It's great being here in sunny Florida where the weather is 75 degrees, hanging out, talking with Captain Jeff about aviation, enjoying a good breakfast stout beer and some good pub food. And I love the show. Can't wait to hear it again tonight when it goes live. So thanks a lot, Captain Jeff, and it's been a pleasure hanging out with you.
Hey, it's been all my pleasure. It's always great to visit with APG community members, and especially people like you who have been such great financial supporters for us. So thank you so much for that. And I really enjoyed our conversation and our lunch and beers. What do we have? The not for breakfast stout or something like that, or beers for breakfast. I don't know, something like that. Really good.
Beer's
anyway,
good anytime.
It is true. So anyway, just wanted to kind of share that with you all, and that's it.
Thanks a lot. We'll see you on the podcast waves. Y'all have a good holiday season.
Y'all. He's from Western New York. Don't let him fool you.
Had to learn the language.
So yeah, that was a great time, and I see that Father Jeremiah is in the chat room right now as we speak. And Chris said, "Ubered is a verb. The world is finished." Sorry, Chris. I guess we utilize the Uber transportation service from the hotel to the pub, and had a great time. Thanks again, Father. It was great meeting you, and enjoyed having lunch with you, and enjoyed the beer as well. Speaking of beer, I just bumped my beer.
Don't
I think
spill
I
your
avoided.
beer.
I think I avoided all electronics. I think I got my bell wet. Yeah, it's kind of wet sounding.
It's a soggy bell.
So what I have here is, if you're watching the video, is a beer from downstairs. They have Celebration on tap here at the hotel.
Ooh, it's that time of year.
Yes, it is.
I have one in my hand too, but mine is bottled variety.
Awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
Quick
So-
question on the low level wind shear advisory. Does the Mad Dog have predictive wind shear advisories in the
Yeah, we have predictive wind shear
Yes.
and active wind shear guidance. So
Cool,
we have all
cool,
that
cool.
fancy pants stuff, just like
Oh,
you
dude,
guys.
Nice. Very cool.
Yeah.
So what is it on the Mad Dog? A long piece of bamboo with a
It's a little piece of
Yes.
yarn that's on the front screen.
If the yarn's missing, you go around.
Dude, this is the kind of crap I get, Dana.
Wow, boy.
Flying the
I
Mad Dog.
could jump into that one so bad. Apparently, Rick and Nick didn't see my comment on the feed about their airplane, right? It's the best airplane in the sky. Right.
I have a certain blankness when it comes to that.
Yeah. Okay.
You just have in general a certain blankness.
That's true. I hope I don't have completely blank on Monday, because this could be Monday. I'm lucky enough to have been invited to join the Av Geeks.
Ooh.
I'm going to be moonlighting.
Airplane
I hope
geeks,
they're-
by the way, not av geeks.
I do beg your pardon, airplane geeks.
You blanked out already.
Yeah.
Hey, Liz.
Off to a great start.
Sorry, Brian.
Hey, Liz Piper.
I think they
Liz
used
Piper just put love when Nick and Rick gang up on Jeff. Too funny. Well, guess
Yeah.
what? Jeff's got a defender here too now.
Yeah. So watch it. That's
Watch
okay. I don't
Tell me,
mind.
I wonder if I can mute Dana. Oh, I can. Yes.
Only for yourself though. The rest
Only
of us
for
can
you.
still hear 'em.
Everybody else can still hear.
Yeah.
Oh, that I won't have to listen then.
Oh, actually, I think you muted him for me too.
Oh,
How did you- oh.
I think Dana, did you mute yourself, or okay? You can unmute yourself if you hover your cursor. Talking about a way to welcome a new person to the gang. Wow.
It's more like
Hey, it
initiation,
wasn't fair.
right? Like,
I think Nick came across the pond and hit it.
Anyway, so yeah, looking forward to hearing that. It's we have a lot of folks that listen to our show and also listen to the Airplane Geeks podcast, and they've been around for about a year longer than the Catholic Pilot Airline Pilot Guy show, and it's probably one of the longest running aviation podcasts out there, and it's probably the best. So that's fantastic.
They're well into the
On show.
400s, aren't they, Jeff?
Yeah, they're getting up there. I don't know what episode they're on now, but anyway, we got a chance to meet them, Dr. Steph and Miami Rick and myself. What was a couple of years ago, right? In June.
It wasn't this past summer; it was the summer before.
2 summers ago. Yeah.
At the Udvar-Hazy Center at IAD at the Smithsonian Institute. That was a lot of fun, and you'll have a great time with them. They're great folks.
Well, I will after all those shows. It's a shame this will be the last one.
Oh, is this going to be the last? You're basically shutting it down.
It's the last one they'll be
Closing
allowed
the curtains. No, but anyway, the point of that was that I was a guest on their show a couple of years ago, and a lot of folks, that's the way they heard about our show, and so we have a lot of crossover audience. So that's fantastic. Now, of course, that you're going to be on it means that we'll probably lose some audience, but oh well.
There you go.
Yeah. Rick, we have not heard from you in quite a while. Please get us up to speed with what are you up to?
Well, I've been, doing my usual around the world aviation rock tour, and just basically just on the road a lot. Did a lot of flying in Asia these last 4 weeks. Spent some time in the Middle East as well, and I haven't been through Europe, which I'm going to be doing quite a bit of next month. We'll be doing a lot of flying for FedEx and UPS out of Memphis to Cologne in Germany, and then but I mean basically that's why I've been kind of missing in action is because there usually is a 12, 13, 14, or 15 hour difference between the US and where I happen to be. Just basically the layover times haven't been that long. Got to go to Indonesia for the first time ever. That was really, really nice. Stayed at a very nice hotel there in the city, and I've been to several other very nice and interesting destinations. But the sad part is that if you want to get to see some of those places, you kind of have to opt out of a lot of the sleep that you would otherwise get. And obviously you do need to get some rest if you're gonna keep on flying. So you kind of have to balance your rest period with what you do, out when you're out and about, and then the jet lag and all this and that. So it gets a little tricky, but I'm getting the hang of it, little by little. And that's basically what I've been going, what I've been up to in the last couple of weeks.
Did you say Memphis?
Yep.
Isn't there another big cargo outfit that flies out of Memphis?
I believe they dress in purple.
Oh yeah. Those are the folks.
Those are the folks.
So you're on their turf, huh? Or you're just helping them out?
Yeah, just helping them out because there's a lot of that overflow, So
okay.
We'll be doing a lot of their flying with a couple of 747s that they've contracted from us. So we'll be doing that.
Cool. Look forward to hearing about that.
Interesting. Absolutely.
But if we want to follow you when you're out there on your ventures, how would we do that, sir?
The easiest way, I've been known to, post a tweet or two every once in a while. So you can just follow me at Miami_Rick, and it's kind of interesting because that I usually and I really feel like I'm taking all of you guys and gals along with me, and there's a really nice interaction of I'll post something, and then somebody will ask a question, and then I'll get right back to it, and you kind of get a nice back and forth going on there. There's some interesting pictures, and a lot of the behind the scenes of what a freight dock does, and flying the 747, which is what I do. So
it's fascinating. Yeah, make sure you follow Rick on the Twitters. You'll be glad you did. And let's see, Dr. Steph, how has your week been going?
My week was really nice. I had kind of a low-key Thanksgiving last weekend. I mean, it's been Thanksgiving since I talked to you guys, correct? Since we did a show? Okay, just making sure.
Yeah.
I
No,
can't
think
keep
we
my
just-
days straight either, and I work.
It
And
was
I
like the day before Thanksgiving. I
five
think.
job, and don't go anywhere. So, yeah, had a nice low key Thanksgiving just here locally with some friends and family. So that was nice. The day after Thanksgiving, I got my parachute gear back out and went and made a couple of skydives with some friends. So that was a lot of fun. And basically just hung around all weekend. I didn't do a whole lot of anything. I was kind of lazy, but kind of needed that after a couple of months of doing a whole lot of traveling myself back and forth and here and there. So, yeah, just getting the batteries recharged and starting in January, have some more trips planned, places to go, things to do. So, yeah.
Excellent. Saw that lovely time lapse you did of you packing your parachute, Steph. That was brilliant.
So that was
And you're
actually
so fast.
about 25 minutes worth of work there, condensed into 16 seconds. Taco did not actually help. He was actually in the way more often than not. So, yeah, someone was like, "You missed a step." I was like, "Yeah, that was me just changing the camera angle. You can't see all of it." So, I hope I didn't miss a step. I've done it.
Have you used the parachute yet?
No, not yet.
Packed it?
Not yet.
Uh-oh.
But,
Well, you'll find out.
My own pack jobs, it's always like, oh, good, it opened. That was nice. So there's always that.
You didn't pack the anvil this time?
Did not pack the anvil this time. It it's a little heavy.
Okay.
Although I do need the extra weight. I made a joke on Twitter. I said, skydiving or on Facebook, maybe, I forget. Skydiving is a good way to work off those post-Thanksgiving calories. And someone said, by what, falling? I said, well, the gear weighs about 20 pounds. I have to wear an extra 10-pound weight belt because I basically have bird bones. Like, I'm tall and skinny and have a lot of, surface area to not very much mass. So I don't fall as fast as everyone else out of the plane. So if you're going to
what would happen if she didn't wear that belt? The parachute would come out and you'd never see Steph again because it just,
sometimes with the student rigs that we used to learn on, like with the really big canopies and wing loadings, it would take forever for me to get back to the ground. I'd be the last one down by like 2 minutes. So,
hey, Steph, can I give you a secret? That's
Yes.
probably one of my best jobs I've ever had. It's actually one of the
packing
most
parachutes.
fun jobs I ever had was when I was a parachute jump pilot.
Oh,
out
yeah.
of Rome, Georgia. Yeah, I had a great time. I just couldn't understand why anybody would ever want to jump out of a perfect little airplane.
Was it last summer? No, the summer before, I spent a little bit of time flying with the guys where I actually go and jump. And I agree, that's complete. Like, that's so much fun to fly, jump, run. You get a little bit of everything. So,
when everybody would fart before they got off the airplane, I would dive the airplane down, less altitude.
You're gonna get less time in your jump now.
Yes,
for that.
exactly.
Exactly.
So, just so everybody heard what he said.
Nose.
So, Data, tell us a little bit about what's been happening with you. How was your Thanksgiving?
Well, it was fantastic. My last day of work was November 11th, and I didn't come back until today.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I thought you were saying that you were fired or something.
No, I had some relaxation time, so I rode my Harley Davidson down to anybody know where the Village is in Florida, just north of Orlando. Had a friend buy a nice new house down there, so spent a few days down there. Came back with a Harley and spent a few days in the home front, and then got on the airplane, went down to Melbourne, and spent Thanksgiving with some really good friends down there in Cocoa Beach. So it was a really nice time. Now I'm back to work and back to reality. Yeah.
But it's a great reality, though, isn't it?
Oh, I got up at 4:15 this morning, and I jumped out of bed, and I was ready to go. I was really looking forward to going back to work. Not a whole lot of people in this world can say that, but I can tell you, I missed it, and I really enjoyed coming back to it.
Yeah, even when the weather's not great, we still enjoy going out there and doing this job.
Liquid sunshine. We need it.
Yep. All right, let's see. So I think that catches all of us up, unless there's anything else that anybody wants to talk about before we move on to the coffee fund.
I think we covered it all.
All right. Now, watch this. It's going to work this time.
Johnny, how much more coffee? No thanks.
I love coffee. I love tea. I love the Java Jive and it loves me. Coffee and tea and the Java and me. A cup, a cup, a cup, a cup, a cup. All right, while the ink spots continue to serenade us in the background, we're going to talk about the Coffee Fund, which is your way to support the show in a financial way. And if you want information about exactly what we spend the money on, basically it's coffee, because that's what keeps us going. Except for Steph, she doesn't drink coffee, but the rest of us need caffeine to live. And also beer, and of course the cost of doing the show, website hosting, media, file hosting, equipment, etc. So thank you very much for all of you who have participated in the Coffee Fund cadre. One of the perks of that is that you get to hear some periodic audio posts from us, which are kind of a behind-the-scenes look at the Airline Pilot Guy show and crew. So sign up, become a patron of the Airline Pilot Guy show, and you can receive the APG crew log as a little perk. And since the last show, we have folks that use the Coffee Fund Classic method: Carl Lake, Steve Trumbell, Nico Rager, and Richard Bell. Thank you, Richard, for that very generous contribution. You didn't need to do that, but we do appreciate it nonetheless. Also, patrons, new Patreon patrons. We have Teresa Craig and Forrest Messerman, Justin Breeze, Ben Todd, Chris Cheatwood, Mike Kwok, and Haywood Jablome. I think it's a French last name. Haywood Jablome. Thank you very much for your patronage. Again, if you want to find out more about the Airline Pilot Guy Coffee Fund, head over to airlinepilotguy.com/coffee. Take it slow, waiter, percolator.
I love coffee, I love tea. Stand by for news.
All right. Well, as we said at the beginning, the news folder, some kind of down, sad news. We'll start off with news yesterday. I believe it was yesterday, late yesterday evening, or early in the morning, that is, a crash involving a Lamia. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. Rick, do you know? Is that Lamia or Lamia?
I'm going to say Lamia.
Okay. Bolivia RJ85 crashed near Medellin in Colombia on November 28th, yesterday. Said that they were experiencing some kind of an electrical problem, and then they crashed. They kind of fell off the radar screen and impacting high terrain south of the Medellin airport. And interesting thing, part of the from the Aviation Herald article talks about the fact that one of the investigators quoted that, or was quoted as having said, of course he said it in Spanish, but and I'm not going to try to read the Spanish. Maybe Rick can do that. Do you see that?
It says here, no existe evidencia de combustible en la aeronave. So basically it means that there was no fuel, no evidence of fuel in the aircraft. Oh, but it's right there. So yeah, basically no fuel, no fire apparently either. So
right. So that's kind of odd. When an airplane crashes like that, you expect some kind of fire upon impact, and so that kind of will lend or lead people to the idea that perhaps what caused the airplane to crash was some kind of fuel starvation issue and not an electrical, or maybe some kind of combination of the two. But of course, this is still early on in the investigation. But the very sad thing about this is that it was a chartered flight, and it was carrying a Brazilian football team, and I believe the the up-to-date numbers, 71 passengers died, and I think 6 initially survived, and then 1 died at the hospital. So I think there are still 5 survivors of the crash. And but anyway, they were heading to Medellin to participate in some kind of a we call it soccer, but football tournament, and they basically the entire team, minus a few that didn't make the flight, perished, and it was quite a tragedy. So.
Yeah, they found the both the flight data recorder and cockpit voice recorder apparently just a couple hours ago, and I can tell you, I mean, I've been in and out of Medellin quite a bit, numerous times on both the 76 and the 777, and it's, I mean, every airport in South America, at least the airports that lie in the Andes chain of mountains. All those airports are going to have north-south oriented runways because you basically all these cities lie in valleys, and the only way that you can fit those airports in there is north to south. And the approach to Medellin particularly is really interesting because when you descend and you actually are on the final approach portion to the airport, flying to the north, you fly between 2 very, very tall mountains, and you see them. If the weather is clear, you see them, basically the tops of those mountains above you, both on the right and on the left. And you need to make sure that you adhere to the approach procedure and the standard terminal arrival procedure, to the T, as far as the route and the speed restrictions because of the high terrain that you have around you. So it's a very challenging approach, very beautiful approach, but you have to fly it just right. Now, we don't know exactly what happened here. It's too early to tell. But, yeah, very, very sad indeed.
This Avro RJ-85, is that the same airplane as the British Aerospace 146?
Looks very much like it, yes.
Okay.
High-wing,
4-engine?
4-engine airplane with a very big speed brake in the back, yep.
Okay. I rode on one of those once. I think ASA in Atlanta operated them for a time, and I remember the very, very strange sound that it made when they were extending the flaps. It's like this big howling sound that kind of gets your attention. Got my attention. Started looking around. What is that noise? Yeah,
that's what it sounded like.
There you go.
Yeah.
I think Dana has been on one of those then, huh?
Many times.
Yeah, the cool thing about that airplane is that it's a smallish type airplane, and it's one of the few airliners that uses centrifugal type compressor engines on an airliner itself. It doesn't have axial flow, so it's a little underpowered. And obviously it's been out of production for a while now. But yeah, it used to fly for some of the commuters here in the States. And LAN actually used to fly them in out of Chile for a long time before they opted for the 320 family. But I've never actually flown in one.
Now looking at
it also doesn't have any thrust reversers as well.
Nope, exactly, it doesn't.
No thrust reversers for commercial airliner. And I was working for the launch company, Business Express Airlines was the launch for that airplane back in 92 or 93. I was there when we got the first one in the United States.
Oh, wow.
So I spent a lot of time on it. It's a good airplane.
Very nice. Not very fast, though, right?
No, terribly slow.
Yeah.
And not very efficient. For 4 engines, it wasn't a good airplane for the passenger load versus the cost.
Yeah.
Hey, Rick, you said you flew into Medellin quite a bit. Is it pretty typical for, they showed the approach procedure that they were flying, and I think I saw on TV they were showing some of the approach tracks where they came in and they entered a holding pattern to the south of the airport, and then I think I was reading something in the text talking about the fact that they basically descended into holding and then you pick up the final approach course, et cetera. Is that a pretty standard kind of maneuver for those airports?
Well, usually a lot of these airports, and in my experience, the way to get in and out of these airports is using RNAV procedures, so area navigation procedures. based off of GPS and that kind of stuff. And when you don't do that, you usually get radar vectors. And vectors in South America are actually, contrary to popular belief, they're actually very, very good, provided the radar is working. And the last time I did a descent in a holding pattern to a landing in an airport kind of like this was at the old Quito airport, when the airport was right in the middle of the city, kind of like what Medellin looks like right now, landing from the south to the north. But no, I haven't seen a descent in a holding pattern prior to a final approach procedure here in a long time. It's usually either RNAV procedures or radar vectors to the final approach course. Yeah.
Any kind of sense or idea of what may have happened here?
I really don't know. I mean, I'd hate to, just venture a guess here because it's too early to tell. The fuel starvation part it's an interesting, I guess, aspect of the accident. But yeah, I'm not going to go ahead and guess because it just would not be fair.
That's a smart thing to do. Yeah, it'd be all pure speculation at this point. Anyway, a sad day for Brazil and the families of those who perished, and the world of football around the world.
Absolutely.
Liz sent, as well as several others, linked to this story in Cold Lake, Alta. Is that an abbreviation for one of the provinces?
Alberta?
Alberta? No, I don't think.
I don't know.
ALTA? Maybe.
I don't know what else it would be. Liz,
yeah.
help us out.
Anyway, pilot is dead after a Canadian fighter jet crashed near Cold Lake, Alta. Royal Canadian Air Force Commander Michael Hood said the pilot died in the accident. Hood was appearing at a Senate committee when news of the crash broke. Cold Lake is the site of a major Canadian Air Force base on the border between Alberta and Saskatchewan. A spokesman for the Canadian Armed Forces said the crash happened Monday morning inside the Cold Lake Air Weapons Range in Saskatchewan. So it sounds like they were doing some kind of training exercise. And that's really all the information that I've seen so far regarding this crash. But unfortunately, the pilot did not survive the crash.
I remember a number of years ago, actually more than a number of years ago, there used to be a show, I forget on what channel it was, but it was exactly about this. It was about the Royal Canadian Air Force and the training program basically followed a bunch of pilots from graduation through the schooling process to learn to fly the F-18, and then they followed them to their respective squadrons. It was, I forget what the name of the show was. It was actually a really good show, and it took place right at Cold Lake, which is where they actually learned to fly this plane. So,
excellent.
Perhaps somebody in the chat room remembers what the name of the show was.
And Nick, you're the only one on the panel here that has any experience at all with that airplane. I know that's a variant, I'm assuming, of the FA-18 that you flew.
CF, I guess, is Canadian F-18. Although the Australians weren't called the AF, but it's tragic when an aircraft goes down, and particularly when the pilot doesn't get out. When you think about it, we've got the best escape systems ever devised, and Martin Baker have an excellent safety record. So I can only hazard a guess that he was either incapacitated in some form or manner, or he struck the ground. So I guess we'll find out. No point trying to guess, as Rick said a little earlier. But the F-18, in fact, has an excellent safety record amongst all the modern fighters. Really, it's one of the best and one of the safest. So that's very sad.
One of the best and safest that Boeing has made.
Exactly right.
Boeing have slapped their logo on.
I'm sorry, I couldn't resist.
And they actually ever make anything, do they, Boeing? They just take over other companies. I don't know.
Hey, Rick, Steve in the chat room says the show was Jetstream. So
there we go. That's what it was.
There you go.
Jetstream.
Jetstream. And apparently ALTA is an abbreviation for Alberta. I don't know where the T comes from.
Well, there's a T in Alberta.
ERTA, Alberta.
Well, okay.
It's the first two letters and the last two letters of the word Alberta.
Okay, never mind.
Alta
Edit
is
that
a
out.
ski resort in Utah. There you go.
It's also
I've heard
tennis
of
league.
Yeah, it's Atlanta. Yeah, lawn tennis, right?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, we see those stickers all over the place in Atlanta. Okay. So never mind. Forget that I even asked about that.
You could always edit it out, Jeff.
I'm gonna try. I probably won't. It's too much work.
It'll be there.
Yeah, it'll be there. Okay. Oh, here's really important news. So,
Tackling the tough
apparently-
issues here. Definitely.
yeah, the tough issues. That's what we're here for. American Airlines flight attendants received new uniforms this year, and the uniform supplier is Twin Hill. And right from the beginning, there were all kinds of reports from flight attendants saying that the uniforms were causing problems with their health, like they were toxic and they were getting rashes and severe attacks of bronchitis when flying lengthy trips, etc. And so they've been complaining about that, and it's gotten to the point where some of the higher level folks at American Airlines are convening meetings with the flight attendant union and try to resolve this whole problem. And I'm thinking to myself when I'm reading about all this, gosh, it seems like it wasn't that long ago that there was some kind of a issue like this with new uniforms at a different airline. And so I did a little search before the show, and I found out that the Alaska Airlines flight attendants were saying that their new uniforms were making them sick back in 2012. And guess what? The same company made their uniforms too. So I'm thinking, maybe there's something to this. And then there's another little item here in our news that I threw in there that apparently several flight attendants for Alaska Airlines sued this company, Twin Hill, and just the beginning of October or late September, this went to court, and basically it was they won a complete defense verdict in the lawsuit. And the court rejected all of the flight attendants' claims, including allegations that Twin Hill's uniforms cause skin irritation, hives, headaches, respiratory issues, and other alleged injuries. So basically, they've been down this road before, and they were sued, and they were just recently, as actually all this was happening with American Airlines flight attendants' uniforms was going on. They just got that legal verdict. So what do you think about this? Do you think something's going on here, or is this just coincidence, or is this psycho?
I think they should do what I do. Just fly in your V-neck shirt. Takes care
That's
of everything.
true.
Not everyone has that luxury.
Not
Not
everybody
all of us
flies
can
the Southwest,
and
right?
just take off our nice dress shirt, button-down shirt, and it'd be
Hey,
nice.
Rick.
But
Rick, I can't name your airline, but it's not Southwest, right?
No, it's not. It's not Southwest.
Those guys.
We don't taxi around with the speed brakes out.
Yeah, well, they also taxi around wearing the BVDs.
Just kidding, Chance Barber. Love ya.
Hey, Jeff, you sure that's not Twin Peaks?
Nope,
Uniform
not Twin
company?
Peaks. Nope.
Okay.
Wait, I guess that deserves the rim shot.
Nice.
All right.
yeah, I don't to get back to your original question there, Captain Jeff. It just seems odd that so many people would come forward all at once. Just with something as simple as we got new uniforms, and now we all have these weird complaints. And it is strange that nothing seems to be really consistent. It's not like everyone got a rash, right? It's not all the same problem that everyone's getting. It's all kinds of stuff, rashes. I think it mentioned bronchitis. I don't know, but I guess the Alaska claim in particular, they said they were concerned about a contaminant tributyl phosphate, which is a toxic solvent that they use in synthetic textile manufacturing. I don't know anything about those types of solvents or chemicals or what they're doing to manufacture. I guess they're various types of synthetic fibers, polyesters that make these uniforms. So It just seems kind of strange that so many people would come forward all at once with, new complaints that they weren't having before. But
And I'm wondering if it
probably
has something to do with the psychosomatic kind of thing. Where
yeah, one person mentions it, and then everyone else around them is like, "Oh yeah, gosh, I'm kind of itchy too," and man, I haven't been feeling
The
well
airline
recently.
industry is quite a small world, and I bet that American Airlines crews found out about the problem that Alaska had, and when they discovered they were having the same uniform made by the same manufacturer, they may well have gone, I wonder if we're going to get the same problem. And as soon as you suggest that, then every little problem might be then attributed to the uniform.
Yeah,
exactly. So it'll be interesting. They probably, they won that recent case in court because they couldn't show any evidence that, any sufficient evidence to prove that was going on. So I can't imagine anything different is going to happen in this case, and it will probably die down and quiet down, and we won't hear any more about it after that. But
they call that the placebo effect.
They do, yeah.
Yes.
Well,
you know what I heard? They've been blaming the very, very bad behavior, rude behavior of the American Airlines pilots on just being near people wearing these new uniforms. But then a statement was made by the company, no, our pilots have always been jerks. So, just kidding. That was for First Officer Jeff. Excuse me, Captain Jeff.
Captain Jeff now.
Captain Jeff, yeah.
And First Officer American Airlines forever. We have several folks that fly for that great company. They're great pilots. They're not jerks.
Which reminds me, did you hear Captain Jeff on Omega Tau?
Yes.
Yeah.
I finished that up today. Great episode, and
it was
definitely
good.
worth listening to.
No, I didn't know. He's on Omega Tau.
Yep.
Just on his
Awesome.
F-15 episode.
Excellent. Can't wait to hear that. Okay. Another fantastic podcast. Not strictly aviation, but Marcus does cover a lot of aviation stuff. So, okay. That's about it in the news folder. You guys ready to start tackling our feedback?
Let's do it.
Bring it on.
Captain, incoming message.
Now, I put this one at the top of the list. It wasn't chronologically the first, but because it has something to do with one of the stories in the news folder, I thought I'd go ahead and attack this one first. And this is from Renato, and he says, Dear APG crew members, first of all, thanks for reading my previous feedback I've sent into and were all addressed in the show. This is Renato from Sao Paulo, Brazil, who flies a large business jet. You all, let's see, be noticed at this time. Oh, you may, he said, you may have noticed this incident, tragic accident took place in Colombia with a Brazilian soccer team that claimed almost all lives on board. At this moment, Brazilians are speechless. All soccer matches were canceled, even those that are in a different championship. News are talking about the fact that the airplane ran out of fuel. So since it's difficult to deal with a societal accident, how do you all tackle the passengers and your own relatives' questions regarding accidents and safety issues? Okay.
Well, I have to tell you, the thing that I always tell the passengers they get on the airplane, especially the scared flyers, is that that my mother's favorite son is flying the aircraft, and far more important that we get home and self-preservation. Certainly that we operate the aircraft safely, and it's far more important that we go home and be safe, and we're going to take care of everybody in the aircraft because of that. And my wife has the same concerns, and I tell her, you want to get on the back of a Harley Davidson. What's more dangerous, flying an airplane or being on a Harley? So that takes care of that question.
My wife's response was, "Is that the kind of airplane you fly, Jeff?" I said, "No." And he goes, "Oh, oh well." Just kidding. Rick, how would you answer this?
How would I answer that? Yeah, I'd kind of go along the same lines as Dana here. So it's basically as long as we as a flight crew operate the aircraft, safely and competently, and we make it from A to B, in one piece, then everybody in the back of the airplane is going to be fine. And I'll tell you, I mean, when I used to fly passengers, I'd get into the aircraft, make my left turn into the flight deck, and then once the door would shut behind me, I would completely forget that I had, 200-300 people riding along with me, because all you really, are concerned with, and all you really are thinking about is the safe operation of your flight. So as long as you operate that aircraft safely and you make it to your destination safely, then everybody else is going to make it there safely with you. So,
Hey, I have a question. Do you think about your packages the same way? Only kidding.
Yeah, he ignores
I
them
do.
too.
Hey, yeah. Well, but seriously speaking, though, I mean, it's as long as you operate the aircraft safely, and you make it there safely, then everybody else makes it there safely. So that's kind of how I look at that.
Yeah, I'm
Captain
very.
Nick.
Oh, go ahead, Nick.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Go ahead, Nick.
Jump in, Steph.
I was just going to say I'm very much into self-preservation, so I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that I get back safely, just as Dana and Rick have said. And I don't get a whole lot of questions from my relatives and friends, and some of them think I'm a little nuts for some of the stuff I do, but for the most part, everyone's
We
like,
do too.
okay, go. Yeah, I know. Mostly it's supportive and go have fun and enjoy, and do what you need to do it safely. So.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm not too sure the self-preservation answer works all the time. I know plenty of pilots that do lots of hang gliding, wingsuit flying, free fall, basically high-risk sports. So, if I was a passenger and the pilot said, I'll just try to make sure I'm safe, and I'd be thinking, isn't that the guy I just saw on Facebook, skydiving off a base jump? What's going on here? So I just like them to see my gray hair and my ancient experienced look, and then they're usually satisfied.
Well
They
worn.
see- and then they see they're getting on an Airbus, and then they rebook their trips.
Oh,
Too
no.
late. We've slammed the door and we're on our way.
To their dismay.
Hey, Nick,
Oh,
I have
boy.
to ask you a question, really, seriously.
Yeah.
How
okay.
can you wear or have a beard and be a pilot? Because we can't.
Well, that's because you guys are a bit silly. I mean, there's nothing wrong with having a beard and being a pilot. It doesn't stop you flying the airplane. I don't think. I don't actually use it to fly the airplane.
You don't?
No,
I thought that was the secret to Airbus flight. No.
no.
It probably is. Yeah, here in the States, they don't allow us to have facial hair except for a mustache like Jeff is sporting. But yeah, because they say it doesn't, it causes a problem with the oxygen mask sealing around your face. So that's
Well,
why they
You
prevent
only
us
have
from
to
having a
ask all
beard.
those Navy pilots that flew fighters all their lives with oxygen masks and full sets, full beard. There's
was
not a
wondering what you're talking
problem,
about there.
actually. I think it's rather an old-fashioned thing. And anyway, my boss has one, so I'm allowed one.
That
I'm
is
jealous.
the correct answer.
Yes.
I like to shave my head and have a nice goatee.
There you go.
That'd be a good look on you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, come on now.
All right. Let's see. Renato continues. Besides that, in episode 247, Captain Nick said that he would prefer shorter flights than long haul flights due to fatigue issues if it were possible to maintain the same earnings and lifestyle advantages. And he put that in capital letters. What are those lifestyle advantages? I guess he's talking about short haul versus long haul.
Well, I think that depends on which short-haul company you fly for. I've chatted just plenty of European short-haul operators, and they have a lot of early mornings. They work very long days with multiple sectors. They, generally speaking, don't stay overnight wherever they're going. So, they're always back at home, which can be great if you've got, if you're really keen to get back to your family. But when you're up again at 4 a.m. the next day, that can be pretty tiring. The nice thing about the lifestyle of long haul is that when you've done your trip, you usually get a nice few days off down route in these fantastic cities, which is great. And when you've done your trip, you usually get a handful of days off to relax before the next one. So that's the lifestyle advantage, really. Going to great cities, having time off down route, and having a decent number of days off after your flight. Downside is that you've got to drag your sorry backside around the world for 12, 13, 14, or even longer hours. As Rick knows, it can be pretty tiring flying those really long sectors with large amounts of jet lag and upset of the circadian rhythms, which the short haul guys don't have a problem with.
No.
Exactly.
Nope.
Exactly right. Well, just as Captain Nick said, when you do a lot of very, very long sectors, flying east to west and crossing several time zones, and it's sometimes not even about the time zones. It's about crossing the international date line, twice in 3 days, and that really has a way of messing with your sleep cycles, and you find yourself waking up in the middle of the night not knowing if it's daytime, nighttime, where are you, what's going on. And so it takes a special kind of person to put up with that kind of flying, and it's not for everybody. But as Captain Nick did say again, the perks are you get to go to some pretty interesting places, you get to spend time there, and then you do get a big nice block of time off when you go back home, if you so desire, because there's a lot of people who do the kind of flying that I do and that Captain Nick does, and choose to fly overtime trips, which cuts their time at home and keeps them out on the road. But if you don't, you do get a lot of time off at home, which is always nice.
I think both types of flying have their advantages and disadvantages, and the beauty of working for a company that Dana and I work for, Acme, we have all of that to choose from. So if you want to fly the short, medium range stuff and not go through zillions of time zones and that kind of thing, I can do that. I might give up a little bit of a hourly rate, not flying the bigger equipment overseas, but I can make up for that by picking up some extra flying, and that's what I prefer. But there are many people in my seniority range that the international thing is like the thing, the way to go. A different airline, they say, and they love it. They can't imagine doing anything else. So it's nice to have that that choice.
And just to add to what Jeff's saying, even on a short haul type of operation, you can have good quality of life. I mean, I finished work. I had the 12th until the 28th off. So what's that? 14 days straight off. I mean, you don't necessarily have to fly in long haul international to get good quality of life. And Jeff is the opposite of me. I mean, he's the captain. It's a little more seniority than I have as a first officer, and I still have great quality of life. We fly trips during the week, and most 1 or 2 time zones don't mess with the body clock. But that, as Jeff mentioned, that it's great when you work for a big airline because you have those choices. And I can hold the 7.6. I wouldn't fly it if you paid me, which they would.
I'd hope so.
No, Airbus. I don't speak French, and both of those airplanes go way too far, and I have to pull up my passport, which is very unusual because I'm in Cancun. Pulling up my passport, I usually say I've gone way too far. So yeah, I'm a domestic guy like Jeff is, and Rick and Nick, and have that long haul stuff, and then I do a little flight instructing on the side for to relate with Steph and live in that GA world as well, which is actually a lot more fun than the international or domestic airline stuff.
I think it just goes to show, you guys all do something slightly different from each other for the most part, except for maybe Dana and Jeff, but there's a lot out there variety wise, and it just depends on the person, knowing what you want and what you think those lifestyle advantages are that you want. And everyone would define that a little bit differently, I think. So it just depends on the individual person. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Renato, for your feedback. Hopefully we answered your questions. And let's see. Let's move on. Would you say, Captain Nick, that the Fighter Squadron Bar is a place of fun and jest, of solace and reflection, and also a place to soothe the daily reminders of how real the job can be?
It's funny, isn't it? Not many RAF squadrons had a full bar. We generally, when we finished work, we went to the mess, and we all got together with the pilots of the other squadrons. Friday night happy hour, 5 o'clock. We all used to really pile in there and have a great night. So having a full-blown bar in your squadron was not kind of a regular thing. There were a few squadrons had them, and each squadron was a bit different. But so I didn't have a lot of experience of it. Of course, we visited other squadrons around the world where they did have, and it was pretty good fun. But you kind of missed poking fun at the other squadrons, because when we used to get 2 or 3 squadrons all into a bar, the same bar at the same time, it used to be quite a hooli. It was a case of pick your window, you're leaving. It was a fun time. Lots of song singing, lots of drunken tomfoolery. And I think when you have a bar in your own squadron, it doesn't quite work that way.
Yeah, you kind of isolate yourself. I mean, I have to admit, by the way, this was sent in to us from John Tookie, DDS, and he sent a link to this website, fightersweep.com, and this article happens to talk about the Fighter Squadron Bar, and I think he wanted us to talk about it a little bit, which is what we're doing. But when my experience, of course, I was never in a fighter squadron myself, but in the training command, we didn't have bars in our squadrons either. We'd go to the officers' mess or the officers' club, and that's where we'd get together with people from different squadrons. And as you said, Captain Nick, we kind of spent time with many different units and that kind of thing, and it was just the place to go. So
that is such a great word, tomfoolery. Love it.
Tomfoolery. Do you know tomfoolery? Yes, as a matter of fact, I do.
Nice guy. I know him
Very
well.
Anyway, so we'll put a link to this article in the show notes if you want to read about the fighter pilot squadron.
I'm just laughing at the mugs on the wall that are designated for the FNGs. So
the frickin' new guys.
Yes.
Right.
And apparently they also get cleanup duty the next day. So there you go.
Now I do remember. I don't. Nick, did you ever do carrier landings?
Yeah, done a few of those. We also had a game similar to this game they're describing here called Crud. We used to call it Tanks, and we broke a few fingers playing that game, I tell you. That was great fun. But yeah, we used to do carrier landings, usually on a dining in night, which is one of our formal mess nights, when all the officers got together for a big formal dinner, and we all wear our number 5s, which was a little monkey jacket, very smart, high wing collar, starched front, the whole 9 yards, patent leather shoes, looking absolutely brilliant. By the end of the evening, we had all the mess silver pushed to one side, the mess tables all lined up, covered in beer, and we were throwing our fellow pilots down them to watch them skid off the end if they missed the wire. So
yes, that's the
wire being
the carrier landings
napkins that were knotted together and held across there. So you were supposed to stop on those if you could. But most guys went flying off the end. It was great fun.
Very slippery. I have a lot of experience with it, and usually it was our actual bar top that we would use for the carrier.
Excellent.
A lot of tomfoolery.
Oh, very much so. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's going to be probably the episode title, right?
There you go.
A lot of tomfoolery. All right. So again, thanks, John, for putting in the link, and we'll include that in the show notes. Moving on, we're going to talk about turbulence with TJ. He says he's a private pilot in San Diego, and he said, I just canceled a cross-country flight due to the ever unpredictable coastal layer, the bane of the non-instrument rated Southern California pilot's existence. Yep. Another factor which affected my decision was an active AirMet Tango from the surface through 12,000 for moderate turbulence. I would love to hear you discuss whether or not you would fly a light aircraft, Skyhawk or the like, during an active AirMet for turbulence. Does the attitude toward AirMet Tango change if you're flying heavier metal? If I can't fly today, I might as well learn something. Thank you for the outstanding show. Now, I'm sorry that it's taken so long for us, TJ, to address this. This was given to us on October 2nd. So quite some time ago.
TJ is
we're
now
right
a
on that.
747 captain. Probably knows the answer. So
He's moved on. He's listening to other podcasts.
Jeez, guys, this is-
So what do you think, Steph? Would you fly a Skyhawk or the like during an AirMet for moderate turbulence?
Yeah, so AirMet, is talking about advisories of weather that might be hazardous to single engine, other light aircraft, generally VFR pilots, and it's not necessarily convective activity that falls under SIGMET. So, it depends on. How'd you like that, Rick? That was
man.
a little cricket dish there, huh?
I'm getting the vapors over here.
No, you're not. Anyway, it just depends on what the actual conditions are. If it's going to be anything more than light turbulence, if it's moderate severe, it's probably just not going to be a lot of fun to go flying that day. And beyond that, potentially dangerous if it is more severe turbulence. So in addition to that coastal layer you were talking about, I think your decision was the correct one, obviously, that day, because not having that instrument rating, you can't go out to begin with. But say you didn't have that coastal layer, then I think, it depends on how much turbulence they're calling for in that AirMet Tango. If it's moderate turbulence, then, you look at the altitudes like you did, that was surface to 12,000 feet. And then, it depends on your comfort level a little bit. It might not be the best day to go flying. So might be a bit, especially if you want to do training activities. If you're going out to do specific maneuvers, that's just not going to be a lot of fun. So if you're going from point A to point B, you got to take a look at where that's affecting, where you're going to be flying through, and go from there. Take all the information into account. So,
That's
What would you say
excellent,
there, Dana?
Stephanie? That's what you said is absolutely perfect. And you were going over to Toccoa, and think about that. You didn't end up flying. You ended up driving over there because it wasn't a good day to fly as a GA pilot.
Not for me. Not with the it worked out for the guys coming from Georgia and from farther west, because the winds ended up being right down their runways, and for me that was not the case. And add the turbulence onto that, and taking a passenger along with me, it's just not going to make for a great day of flying, and potentially a dangerous one on the way back too, with the strong gusty winds that are not that are too far off runway heading. So
That was a bumpy day, by the way. Mike and
I know
on
it was.
his-
It was bumpy in the car driving over.
We had a
That's how you
couple
do it.
little moderate jolts, and it was kind of fun. Actually, I enjoyed it.
But I mean, I've been out there in what I call moderate turbulence, and it's doable. It's just not the most fun. And like I said, if you're doing it for other reasons than from getting from point A to point B, and wanting to be doing training activities, you may not get a lot out of it, or you may not feel so great while you're doing it. So.
See, the interesting thing here is that whether you're flying a big airplane or a little airplane, the kind of the procedure and the way you fly through turbulence is kind of the same. You're always going to slow down to what's called
Exactly.
turbulence penetration speed, or VA, maneuvering speed, and you basically slow down to that airspeed. Or in the case of an Airbus, you need to speed up to that airspeed, and just basically, as we know, as we've talked about, usually jet engines don't have igniters. So basically, once the combustion is going, that the heat keeps that fuel burning. So you don't really need igniters to keep that combustion cycle going. So if you're going to fly through turbulence, usually what we'll do is we'll turn on what's called continuous ignition to turn those igniters on to make sure the engines don't flame out. And make sure everybody's strapped in, everything's buttoned down, and then just power on through. Now, dispatchers do a great job at routing aircraft around areas of turbulence, because usually these airliners have people in them, and so a lot of people don't like flying through turbulence. And also the fact that you have to slow down means that you are down the road, burning more fuel, so your flight's going to take longer. So we usually try not to fly, or dispatch usually tries not to have us fly through turbulence because of that. But the procedures are the same, whether it's a big airplane or a small airplane. That's what I'm trying to get at.
The boxes
Because
hate turbulence.
Yeah, boxes hate turbulence.
I will say though, he mentions
Dan and I are thinking the same thing.
heavy metal versus light metal. There is a difference in the way an airplane handles turbulence.
Oh, absolutely.
And so for, let's say you're out there in the water in choppy seas, and if you're in a little dinghy, those choppy seas are going to be very significant to you, as opposed to a big cruise ship and may not even notice that the seas are that choppy. So same kind of analogy to flying. The big metal, more mass, everything is less affected by the turbulence. So that when we give a turbulence PIREP, or when air traffic control lets other people know that severe or moderate to severe turbulence was reported by a Cessna 172 or a Learjet or a Boeing 747, that kind of gives us an idea of, okay, how significant is this going to be for me and my airplane? And so that's an important part of it. So
Very true.
Mm-hmm.
all right. Anything else to add about turbulence for TJ? TJ? No? Thanks,
No,
TJ.
I don't think so.
Hopefully you're enjoying your new job as a 747 captain.
He's
Speaking
enjoying
of
it so much,
747.
he's wanting to speed up to get it over and done with.
Oh, nice one.
Ouch.
There we go.
Mixture.
Now, we received this again early October, but I've been saving it for Rick to come back. Miami Rick, in the previous episode, 239, well, that was a while ago, you were wondering what happened to the Evergreen Aviation 747, and I think I might have the answer for you, even though this may not be the same exact 747 you were talking about. Anyway, it's still really cool and interesting what this Evergreen 747 afterlife has become. And he sent us a link to the evergreenmuseum.org/waterpark. And from what I can tell from this little photograph,
This is amazing.
it looks like the 747 is on top of a building.
Wow.
I need to go there.
That is.
Where
I'm
is
thinking,
that, by the way?
I'm thinking road trip.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I'm pulling it up right now.
McMinnville? Where is that?
McMinnville?
That
Oregon.
name sounds made up.
Yeah, McMinnville. I think McMinnon.
No,
There's a lot of M's and N's. McMinnville,
Yeah.
Oregon. All right.
Yeah, no, you're adding an E in the there. before the E.
McMinnville.
Yes,
Sorry,
McMinnville.
yes. Okay, there we go. I can read.
Oregon. Yeah. So
Sometimes.
cool. Yeah. Okay. Road trip. When are we going to go?
Wow.
We'll come
Yeah,
up with it.
sooner rather than later. I love
Yeah.
water parks.
Wings
planes.
and Waves Water Park.
That is amazing.
Slide out of a real Boeing 747 aircraft sitting on the roof. Oh, so that's actually part of the water
Yeah.
feature?
Yeah, do you see the slides coming
Oh,
out of the
slides.
rear
Oh,
of the
man.
aircraft?
That looks like
And
a
then
lot
they
of
go
fun.
down into the building.
Neat.
That is bucket list. It's got bucket list written all over.
Absolutely.
All right. So thank you for sharing that with us, Anthony. And so I think we were talking about the Evergreen 747. That was the firefighting tanker.
The tanker. I
thing.
used to see it on JFK a while ago, a long time ago.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Hey, Larry sent in this. He says, I've not heard NAT2 discussed until now. Not only can Big Brother track your flight, almost everyone else can now. Sure sounds like a better system than jettisonable CVR/FDRs and doesn't add any weight to the aircraft. And so this article that he provides a link to is concerning the proliferation of flight tracking services begins to bewilder. And I think it's a good thing that there's a proliferation of flight tracking services, because we do need to keep track of all our airliners out there, especially those who are doing all that long haul stuff over the large bodies of water.
Yeah, those guys with those shoulder-mounted little missiles, it'd be really useful for them.
Uh-oh. Okay. Now I'm hearing a little dissonant viewpoint.
It's only a little one. It's an interesting one, though, isn't it? But it wouldn't do you much good instead of a CVR and FDR, because quite honestly, your aircraft position, well, that's one thing, but you really want to know what everything inside the aircraft's doing. And this sort of equipment is not going to be able to give you that. But yeah, it's an interesting point of view. Eventually, I guess they'll have enough bandwidth to be able to stream all the data off the aircraft down. Perhaps, you never know.
Yeah,
Exactly.
would have been nice to have that
I
on.
imagine.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say that. I mean, I was going to say that just imagine the kind of bandwidth you need to have to download all that telemetry, all that data, and to have it be usable. And as Jeff was going to say, that would have been very, very helpful on Malaysia 370, right? So.
Yep.
I think it'll get there someday. I mean.
Yeah.
I think sooner
Eventually.
rather than later. I think that they're really
I
making
think
some
so
big
too.
strides.
Mm-hmm.
We really need it. We have the technology. It's just implementing it, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Off topic.
Yes.
Off topic. Steph has a drinking problem.
I do. My beer is empty.
Yes.
Well, don't talk about it on the show. Damn it. What is her
quite
drinking
empty.
problem?
Well, my beer is broken. That's the problem with.
Oh,
It's
no.
empty.
It ran out of liquid?
It did. Yes.
About
But
half
that's
of
okay.
mine is
I'm
on the
gonna-
desk.
I digress.
wait.
I'm sorry.
Until some sort of audio feedback here, because I actually listened to all of them in advance, so I won't be missing anything to run off and get a beer. That's one of the plus sides of sitting in traffic on the way home that goes nowhere. I can sit there and hit play on all of your lovely audio feedback. So
Excellent. All right. Let's move on. Speaking of audio feedback, why don't we play some of that? I'm going to scroll down a little bit further down the list here, and I'm thinking that maybe we had on the last show we had some poetry, and I'm thinking maybe poetry would calm our nerves a little bit. So let's take a listen. Oh, wait a minute. Let me make sure I have this all set. Okay.
This is Miami Hick. I can do a poem too. Would you like to hear it? Well, good, because I'm going to read it. Roses are red, violets are blue. Boeings are old, and Airbuses are new. If you're on a Boeing, don't have a fit. They are really slow, and they fly like... I can't come up with a word that rhymes with fit. I have to work on that. Any suggestions, let me know. Okay. So if you want a nice trip, go ahead and make the flip. Buy a ticket for an Airbus so you won't have to cuss. Boeings are rusted and a little dusty. Their pilots, a bit clumsy. So if you want to be where it's at, fly on an Airbus, you old chap. Miami Hick, over and out.
Thank you, Miami Hick, for that beautiful poetry.
And,
Very true. All of it.
I'm sure none of us can think of a word that rhymes with
Yeah.
fit either. So
keep an eye out for that word. I'll be
Let
sending
us-
that to you.
let us know when you think of it, because we're all struggling here too.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's head back over toward the regular list of feedback from Swedish Jim, and he sent this toward the beginning of October. He said he sent this article from worldwarwings.com, and he put amazing backflips with a C-27J. And I'm thinking, backflips? I've never seen an airplane do a backflip. I think they mean loops. Anyway.
No, that's a
talking about-
backflip. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay. Well,
Backflip when you go straight up and then backwards.
uh-huh.
Well, if that's a
Okay.
a loop, Jeff, he hasn't got his wings level over the top.
Well, that's just part of it. Yeah, you're right. It's not a very good loop.
No,
Kind of a
I think he'd
skew.
do better than that. And has he still got the wheels down?
Yeah, it does. This is a picture that we're referring to of a C-27J Spartan. Pulled up a little bit of information about it on Wikipedia. That's made by Alenia, which is I think an Italian company. Alenia Aeromaci. Yes.
Catamachi. Yep, Italian.
And I didn't know really that much about this airplane. It looks like a little miniature C-130. Instead of having 4 engines, it has 2. And apparently it's quite a performer. And we have some in the U.S. Armed Forces. And a lot of different countries around the world use this airplane as well. So anyway, I'll put a link to all that in the show notes.
Actually,
Yes, sir?
you know what? I think it's just a picture of an airplane taken off, and just the picture's upside down.
That probably is true.
Yeah.
Let's see here. I'm going to turn this.
It's in a news article, right? So
Yeah. the journalist.
You see
Like,
what
well,
I'm
we didn't manage to capture it on film or in a picture, so we'll just take this picture and there.
saying? Flip it around. Brilliant.
Yeah. Okay. Good point. Anyway, so if you see some airplanes doing backflips near you, make sure you take some video of it and send it in to us.
Absolutely.
All right.
saw
Audio
something
feedback. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I saw something very interesting coming to Cancun today. Not
What?
something you see every day. How about an albatross?
Oh,
Ooh.
wow.
Yes, sitting over on the ramp. I didn't have time. We were taxiing in, but there was a albatross sitting over on the ramp and the general aviation ramp.
Was it
hanging out.
Was
wandering
it-
around?
Was
Was
it
it a-
Jimmy? Was
Was
it
it
Jimmy
a
Buffett's?
wandering albatross?
Rick
If it
loves
is,
Jimmy
I
Buffett, by
need
the
to
way.
go find Jimmy right now and
You know how I feel about
say
Jimmy
goodbye to you
Buffett.
guys.
I do.
But yeah, I haven't seen an albatross ever in all the airline flying I've done or all the general aviation flying I've done. I've never seen an albatross, and it was sitting right there in the general aviation ramp. It was pretty cool.
Very cool.
Awesome.
Was someone trying to refuel it?
I don't know.
Okay.
They put a 100 LL in there.
All right. Audio feedback from Tariq or Tariq.
APG crew, APG community. Hi, Tarek Marface here. And first off, thanks for playing my feedback in episode 240. Really appreciate it. And my subscriber rates on my YouTube channel went up, spiked last week. And I attribute that to you guys. So thanks again. Now, before I ask my question, Captain Nick, one that my feedback was playing, and I invited you guys over to Scotland, I heard you utter in complete and utter confusion, Scotland? And I couldn't help chuckle. So I guess my accent threw you off. I'm half French and English. My other half is American. I pick up accents really easily. I'm moved all over the place. Therefore, my accent is all over the place. And also, I didn't mean to, quote unquote, give you a hard time with the whiz wheel. I just put a lot of effort teaching my students how to use it. So it's a bit saddening that people end up not using it afterwards. Now, the question itself. I have an instrument rating, but I never use it because I'm teaching PPL. So my question is, how often do airliners fly SID stars and procedures? I'm assuming because of noise abatement, you fly SIDs virtually all the time. And in larger airports, you'd fly stars all the time for better traffic flow. But what about sort of medium-sized airports? Like in my case, Glasgow and Edinburgh. Would you do a full star, typically speaking? Would you start a star, then ATC would vector you around in the way they want it? Would you ever fly a procedure? I guess when you're holding, for example. Just that kind of question, basically. How often do you do stars and procedures? Because I assume you do SIDS all the time, or correct me if I'm wrong. Thanks for the podcast. I think it's fantastic. I really, really appreciate it. Keep the blue side up, the greasy side down, unless you're in Los Angeles, in which case keep the gray side up and the greasy side down. And of course, I hope for you tailwinds and happy flying. Bye.
Thank you very much, Tarek, for your feedback. I'm glad we had made you get a little bit of a bump on your YouTube channel. And so that's a great question. So I'm going to let our ladies and gentlemen of the crew answer that. Or not. Okay, we're moving on.
Anyone answer? So SIDS and stars. Well, in my kind of operation, flying the 74 now, we operate both in and out of very congested and very huge airports, and oftentimes we'll fly into uncontrolled airports. So we get to fly, I guess, both sides of the spectrum here. As you said, SIDS and stars. For those of you who don't know what SIDS or stars stand for, SIDS stand for Standard Instrument Departures, and stars are Standard Terminal Arrival Routenings. And as you said, these are used for traffic flow management. So as expected, when you are dealing with a lot of traffic, a lot of volume, you will be assigned a star or a SID for that very purpose. And oftentimes you'll be told by ATC to either climb via a SID or descend via the star. So basically what you're doing is you're flying that procedure as it is published on your Jepsons or whatever type of publication you used, and the way it's loaded on your flight management computer or flight management system, whatever it happened to be. It's happened to me also where I've been assigned a star or a SID, and then at some point halfway, I'll be vectored off that SID or that star for traffic flow management as well. And in the case of a star, oftentimes you'll start flying that star, and then you'll be taken off that star by radar vectors, because sometimes, you know, when there's not a lot of traffic around, ATC can get you off that star and bring you closer to the airport and get you a more direct routing to that final approach course and get you down quicker. So it really depends, you know, what kind of airport you're flying in and out of, and what kind of what time of day you happen to be flying in and out of that airport. So.
Well, and just to add on what Rick said, for those folks that listen and don't understand what a SID or a star is, SID is standard instrument departure, and star is a standard terminal arrival route. So, and you know, I can think of a couple airports off the top of my hand, Dallas Fort Worth being one of them, that has about I don't know, 40 different SID and stars. And then you go into an airport like New York that only has LaGuardia that only has a couple. And usually you're not on one, other than it's really runway dependent. And then you get an airport like Nashville, Tennessee, which is a really kind of a small airport. Although it does have 3 runways, not a whole lot of traffic, but they have a pretty complex arrival if you're coming from the south for the star. So air traffic control always has the option to go ahead and say, you know, cleared to a direct point, or cancel a speed, or, you know, change the SID or a star. You know, it's at their discretion, but we as pilots, we're file for them or assign them, and we're expected to fly them as published. You know, one of the famous ones is a Corey arrival into New York. You know, one of the fixes out there, it says at or above flight level 270. And, you know, it's quite common for us to go ahead and change. Was it Ridgey? I can't remember. Is that Ridgey?
Yeah,
Jeff?
Ridgey is where we kind of begin.
Yeah, we begin it, and we just put it to 270 is what we, you know, it's published as at or above flight level 270, but air traffic control always gives you Ridgey at 270. So there's always a little bit of a change, and there's always something they can adjust or based on the operational need, as Rick said. You know, it's really just to route the traffic flow into a terminal area efficiently, and then the air traffic control will make the adjustments as need be.
You know, I never understood why, you know, you'll be flying this happens a lot when you fly SIDs. You know, they'll break you off the SID, and they'll start vectoring you around, and then you look down at your navigation display, and they're vectoring you right over the SID. You know, it's like seriously, dude, are you vectoring me around, or are you just going to let me fly this thing? Or, you know?
To add to that,
surely that's for separation. When they're giving you radar vectors, they can close up the separation than they can when you're navigating yourself, Rick.
Yeah, well, that's true.
I like it.
By the way, can someone explain to me what SID and STAR stands for? I think I might have missed it.
Yeah, well,
I did.
It was explained twice, actually.
That was twice.
But anyway, just real quick, kind of to add on to that last point, you know, it was hilarious. I flew into Chattanooga, and we were leaving there and flying on an instrument flight plan back to Winston-Salem, and we got assigned a SID, and I was like, ooh, fun. So I, you know, go and look it up, and it basically says fly runway heading, then vectors. I was like, what? That's the most disappointing SID ever. And there's a lot of them like that, to be honest. So, yeah, I was like, they could have just said fly runway heading and then vectors. Anyway.
To answer one of Tarek's questions, medium-sized airports, well, we tend to fly SIDs and stars at any airport, unless they haven't got a radar. So if they haven't got a radar, you're going to fly a full procedural, and that's the time that you will follow to the letter, usually, the full procedure. But once they've got a radar, they often, take you on their own little route around the world. It's up to them.
Yep. And we love it.
That's why they call them controllers.
Yep. They're just so controlling.
Always have to be in control.
Yep. And actually, I prefer it because now if they, I don't get in trouble if I don't follow exactly the track that my navigation system is, or the whatever. If somebody's giving me a vector, then it takes the load off me. So
that's probably because you spilled a cup of coffee over your navigation system, Jeff.
It happens all the time.
I know.
That's why we have a coffee fund. Captain Richard writes, "Hi, APG crew. I've been listening to your awesome show now for several years, and as an airline pilot, it's great to hear your answers and opinions to the current news and feedback. I decided this week it was time to give something back to your show, which has provided me with hours of entertainment on my commute to work and to contribute to the coffee fund." Now, he sent this back in late October, so thank you, Richard. We thanked you then, and we're thanking you again for your coffee fund contribution. Thank you. I'm a captain with Acme Canada, and I'm currently flying the 787, and before that, the A319, 320, 321, 330, 340, and the Boeing 737-200. Wow, he has quite a resume there, doesn't he?
Yeah. Did they not manage to find one he could fly?
Ooh.
He settled on the best.
Sorry,
I must say,
exactly right.
I must say, I've thoroughly enjoyed the Boeing/Airbus banter between Captain Nick and Miami Rick, and he's enjoying it right now, I'm sure. Captain Jeff, you've alluded to a future move to a wide-body aircraft with a mix of domestic and overseas flying. Seeing as you have not been flying overseas for years, at your age, overseas will be a challenging adjustment.
Oh, yes.
Any adjustment, Richard, will be a challenge for me. He continues, I'm a couple of years older than you and fly mostly 7 to 15-hour legs, and it's a tough haul in managing your sleep and not getting overly fatigued. I think mostly domestic with little overseas would be a perfect fit for you. I have a question for Captain Nick. Having spent many years being driven through the bowels, I guess, of Heathrow, I was wondering how the Acme Red airplanes got their names. One was Lady Penelope on a 747. Being just a few years younger than Richard Branson, I couldn't help but think of the 60s British TV show Thunderbirds, which had a character, Lady Penelope. Do you know the answer to that?
Yeah, and most of them depending on the registration. So if they managed to find a decent registration, they would often put a name that sort of matched it. I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head.
Well, they all have kind of fun registrations, right? Like,
they're all Golf Victor, and then they've got fun 3-letter words after them.
So is that GVPEN? Is that how it became Penelope?
No, I think it was something to do with the Thunderbirds. FAB.
Oh, okay.
FAB. Do you remember that? Thunderbird said FAB, Virgil.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think that was GVFAB, so that was called.
I get it now.
Fab,
Gotcha.
yeah.
How clever.
Yeah, some they put out to a competition, and I seem to remember one that was Lady Diane, Princess Diane, before she died, cracked a bottle of champagne over one that was called Lady in Red, I think, in reference to one of her gowns that she was very famously photographed in. So there were a variety of reasons, but generally speaking, it tied in with the registration.
I like
Awesome.
GVUFO. That's fun.
I've just flown that. Yeah, I just took that
Did
back
you?
from Washington. Yes.
I like GVBRK, or Brick, which is the next to last aircraft.
Yeah, we have got GV Boeing Killer, but unfortunately,
A lot of letters in that one.
that one.
That's going to take what kind of registration is that?
Nasty one.
GVMDG. Mad Dog.
That would be good.
The best airplane in the sky right now. Come on now.
Yeah, it is a historic airplane in the sky right now.
It is.
All right, moving on with his feedback. One comment on hand flying: it's harder and harder to find departures that are not RNAV SIDS and or noise sensitive, which require the use of the autopilot. After a 12-hour flight, to disconnect the autopilot on approach because you want to hand fly, but are maybe a bit too tired, can create a situation that leads to an unstable approach. It's a hard quest for overseas pilots to keep the hand flying skills current. And I think that we've talked about that several times on the show, and we agree. That's one of the downsides of the long haul stuff, is that by the time you get a chance to perhaps practice those hand flying skills, you're really not in any shape to do it because you've been up all night.
Well, there's that, and then the fact that you fly such long sectors, you don't always get to be the flying pilot. So
that's true.
So you have the long sectors, you're tired, and then the fact that you may only flown the aircraft maybe once the month before. So as long as you have, basically you need 3 landings to stay current, right? And if you don't have 3 landings in 90 days, I believe it is, then you lose your currency. And if you lose your currency because you didn't get to land the aircraft because you either couldn't do it, or a lot of times you'll be flying with somebody who's in initial operating experience, and obviously you're not able to do the landing yourself or fly the leg yourself. If it gets to the point where you are no longer current, then you have to go back to the sim and do basically 3 touch and goes or 3 landings to basically become current again. And so yes, long sectors, tired. You may have not flown the aircraft in the last couple of months, and so you go ahead and disconnect the autopilot early on. You might find yourself in a position where you could put yourself in a unstabilized approach situation, which would not be good. So it's kind of a balancing act between staying sharp and not losing currency.
As you said, it's just getting harder and harder to find opportunities to do that. So it's a tough nut to crack. I'm not sure what the solution is.
Oh, the solution, Jeff, is single pilot operations. So you have to fly everything.
There you go. Current. Well, unfortunately, I think a lot of people are trying to push that. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Captain Richard, again for the financial contribution, as well as your just being there and listening and keeping us straight. Also good to know we have somebody in the Canadian Acme airline wing. Jack writes.
Actually, sorry, yes? I was just going to say, all joking aside, that is an impressive lineup of airplanes. Richard, you must have a lot of experience.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hello there, APG. My name's Jack. This question is more for you military guys. I'm trying to figure out how to shape my future goals. I'm currently a freshly minted Air Force reservist coming out of the C-130 schoolhouse. I have roughly 1,500 hours in civilian total time, another 300 or so military time from the T-6, T-1, and C-130. My plan is to fly as much as I can with the reserve, but I'm not really sure what comes after that. I'd like to get a master's degree that is not so much aviation related to fall back on, or maybe get a non-flying job to help ends meet if I can't fly. I'm not interested in the regionals because I don't believe in how they plague our industry and take advantage of young pilots. Do you have any tips, recommendations, things you wish you could have done differently? And his certifications are commercial instrument, CFII, ASEL, AMEL. So airplane single engine land, airplane multi-engine land. And so Jack, I think your plan is good. Just fly, be what do we call those guys? Guard dogs or reserve dogs that just go out and fly, and build up your time. And then put out your applications. And I believe, coming from your military background and the experience that you're getting on the 130, I don't think you'll need to go into the regional airlines to get that experience. I think that after a little bit of time, correct me if I'm wrong, Captain Steve, in the chat room, but I believe that you can probably make the jump from the reserves, the C-130 reserves, and continue to do that after you've been hired. But I think the majors will probably look at you, with a good eye, and they'll probably pick you up. So But if you don't want to fly for a living, I don't know what to tell you. What do you think, crew?
Sorry, hold on. I'm reading through the feedback. I had to take care of
Okay.
something.
Well, I thought, okay, I'm not looking at the screen, the Google Hangout screen. I'm thinking,
I came
am
back
I
just in
by
time.
myself?
I came back just in time for what do you think, crew? I said,
Oh,
"Uh-oh."
okay. Well, then
So-
maybe one of the people that were there the whole time can help me.
Well, I'm not from the States, so I don't really understand what's going on here. But
Okay.
I didn't have any problem getting from the military straight into long haul. So if you want to avoid a regional, yeah, there are obviously ways to do it. You don't have to do it if you've got the hours and experience. You'll probably find an airline that may take you straight in, a major one.
Yep. In fact, Steve, thankfully, he's a regional captain trying to get on with the majors, and I'm sure he will be there very soon. He was still there, and he came back and said, yeah, he's good to go straight to the majors. So there you go. Jack, if you're...
And I'll add my 2 cents on that one is that I was at the regionals, and it's kind of like, is he from the States, or is he I don't know where he's from. He's from
C-130
States.
reserves.
C-131 reserves. So it's kind of like comparing the minor leagues to the major leagues as far as baseball goes, or college football to pro football. You always want to go with the higher level. It's going to be better pay, better benefits, better quality of life, which is the most important thing. And the regionals, I mean, certainly there's nothing wrong with them. That's where I came from. I'm homegrown from regional flying, and I'll never ever forget where I came from. And, it's two sides: military flying and regional flying. But if you have that a great experience in the military, then certainly I would. If in this current environment where everybody's hiring, all the majors, all the cargo carriers, everybody's hiring. I certainly wouldn't settle to go to the regional level. I would definitely go for the big guys. Long term would be a whole lot better for you.
Yeah, no, a lot of folks don't have the luxury of skipping the regionals. That's kind of a rite of passage to get to the majors, and but the exception, I think, is still the military route. Although many of the people that I fly with now were ex-military, and because hiring was pretty slow trying to get to the majors, they had to do a stint in the regionals as well to get that Part 121 experience that the majors were looking for. But now the gates are open, and the floodgates are open, and as Steve said, and Dana said, I don't think you're going to have a problem going directly to the majors.
Absolutely, with that kind of experience, that kind of flight time in the aircraft that you've flown, and you're going to be fine. Actually, one of my good friends from my class came straight from the military, to the airlines, to the where I fly now. So you don't necessarily have to go through the regionals.
Well, what is that?
Majors.
What's that logo with the Air Force? Aim high, aim high. Don't shoot low. That's all I have to say when it comes to what you want to shoot for.
And now that I'm all caught up on your feedback there, Jack, and listen to everyone's comments, I'll just say that I concur.
There you go. Thank you. It's always good to hear from Steph. All right. And speaking of always good to hear from, it's always good to hear from the old pilot and his plain tales. Why don't we listen to this week's episode?
The old pilot's plain tales. I believe he is dead.
To the Right Honourable Malcolm Rifkind, Secretary of State for Transport. Sir, I have the honour to submit the report by Mr. D.F. King, an Inspector of Air Accidents, on the circumstances of the accident to British Airways BAC 111 Golf Bravo Juliet Romeo Tango that occurred over Didcot, Oxfordshire, on 10th of June 1990. I have the honour to be, sir, your obedient servant, KPR Smart, Chief Inspector of Air Accidents. So begins a dry, emotionless description of one of the most remarkable events to ever befall a commercial pilot. The story starts in a hangar 24 hours before the incident. No, actually, the story starts on the engineering boards of the British Aircraft Corporation many years before. Replacing the windshields of an aircraft is always a bit tricky. They are usually designed to be a plug fit that required them to be inserted into the hole from the inside of the cockpit. This is always a bit tricky in the cramped space of a flight deck. Whatever the reason, the BAC design engineers decided that it was okay for the glass to be fitted from the outside of the aircraft. After all, it was going to be secured by 90 bolts, so there was no way it was going to pop out. Now we can return to the hangar. The captain's side front windshield was due for replacement, and the shift maintenance manager, a popular and experienced engineer, decided to do the job himself during his night shift. This was the sort of job that didn't really need him to refer to the engineering manuals, so he started unscrewing the old bolts. It was a little hard taking some of them out from around the windshield, as many were covered in paint and hard to remove, so those were discarded, and the engineer went to a gloomy corner of the hangar where the parts racks lived and pocketed a bunch of similar bolts to replace them with. Not bothering to put on his glasses or check the part specifications, he also ignored the parts manager, who thought he'd grabbed the wrong ones. The bolts looked fine for the job, and the new screen was soon in place. Unfortunately, being the shift maintenance manager, there was no one more senior to make an independent check of his work. Otherwise, somebody might have noticed that most of the screws were 26/100ths of an inch too small in diameter, and some were 1/10 of an inch too short. Captain Lancaster and his crew departed the aircraft uneventfully from Birmingham with a load of 81 holidaymakers bound for Malaga in Spain. The first officer was flying the leg, and as they climbed away, both pilots released their shoulder straps, and the captain loosened his lap strap. Back in the cabin, the 4 cabin crew were preparing to serve meals to the passengers. They had been airborne less than a quarter of an hour and passing 17,000 feet when Nigel Ogden checked on the pilots to ask if they would like a nice cup of tea. As he turned to leave, there was a noise like a bomb going off. Looking back, he saw that the front windshield had blown out and the captain had been sucked out of his seat and was hanging half out of the aircraft. The BAC-111 was suffering from an explosive decompression, and everything was flying forwards out of the hole past the body of the captain. Paperwork, checklists, manuals, a fire extinguisher, and the air was swirling with the mist that forms when pressure drops. With his legs pushing the control yoke forward, Captain Lancaster had inadvertently forced the aircraft into a steep dive. In addition, the flight deck door had been blown off its hinges, collapsing onto the center console, blocking the throttles. Before he had completely disappeared through the window and fallen to his death, Nigel Ogden grabbed Lancaster's belt and hung on for grim death. Outside the aircraft and flailing in the freezing slipstream, Tim Lancaster was in the most hostile of environments. Wearing only the usual short-sleeved cotton shirts, he was being battered and flung around by a vicious 345-mile-an-hour wind at minus 17 degrees centigrade. In Fahrenheit, that was over 30 degrees of frost, without even worrying about the chill factor. The air was so thin that he would soon die from hypoxia. He was already starting to lose consciousness. First Officer Atchison struggled to regain control of the aircraft. He was in a forced descent, which was actually a good thing as he needed to get down to thicker air, and the crew were clearing the debris away from the throttles so he could stop the aircraft from accelerating. He tried to make a call on the radio. Mayday, Mayday, London, this is Speedbird 5390. Mayday, Mayday, May. London replied, but Atchison couldn't hear them over the appalling noise and repeated the call several times. Back in the cabin, flight attendant Susan Price was calming the passengers and securing what equipment she could, but up in the flight deck, Nigel Ogden was struggling to keep hold of the captain. The cold blasts of air coming through the window were giving him frostbite and bruising. The icy wind had made him nearly blind, and he was starting to become exhausted. The remaining 2 cabin crew had made it to the front to help, and they relieved Ogden, but by then the captain had shifted, and they could only just hang on to Lancaster's ankles. The captain's body had started to slip downwards, and he was now pinned to the outside of the side windows. They could all see his head being viciously banged against the side of the aircraft again and again, blood splattering from the limp body. Just inches away was his dead, empty stare. Convinced that Lancaster had died, the crew thought they might drop him, but First Officer Atchison refused to agree, worrying that his body might take out an engine and put them into an even worse situation. Leveling the aircraft and re-engaging the autopilot, Atchison at last made proper contact with air traffic. Sutton Control said, "We've been advised it's a pressurization failure. Is that the only problem?" Negative, sir," Atchison replied. "The captain is half sucked out of the aircraft. I understand. I believe he is dead." The first officer was in an awful situation. In a freezing flight deck, hardly being able to hear air traffic, he had no charts, no checklist, no manual, and no captain. With no clear idea of his best options, he asked to be guided to Gatwick, since he knew the airfield from memory, but Southampton was offered instead. Not properly realizing his situation, the controller was waiting for a decision, but the first officer was in no position to know what was best. Eventually, he was turned in the direction of Southampton and given a frequency change. "I'm afraid we have some debris on the flight deck, and could you confirm the frequency you changed me to?" he replied. Atchim was struggling with an appalling situation, and at times this wasn't fully understood by his controllers. However, he was finally lined up with the runway at Southampton and made visual contact, eventually being given permission to land. His touchdown was perfect, and Atchison brought the aircraft quickly to a halt. He landed 22 minutes after the emergency. The flight had only lasted 35 minutes in total. The emergency crews rolled up to the BAC 111 soon after it came to a halt. All the passengers were unharmed, but Ogden had frostbite to his face and hands, a dislocated shoulder, and damage to one of his eyes. The captain's limp body was pulled back into the cockpit, battered, bloody, and white with cold. The passengers left via the normal air stair. Predictably, Ogden had to yell at a couple who tried to get their hand baggage out of the overhead bins, despite the emergency evacuation. When the fire and medical crews arrived, they immediately loaded Captain Lancaster onto a stretcher, where, quite incredibly, and to the delight of his crew, he came to, uttering the words, "I want to eat." Apart from the remarkable story of survival that this tale brings, it is also important from another aspect. During the investigation into the accident, instead of walking in and asking the engineer shift manager what he'd done wrong, the investigators took a different approach. They brought a psychologist with them to aid in their interview. They didn't accuse the engineer or fix blame. Instead, they made him part of the investigation to determine the cause. They asked him what he had done on the day he had replaced the windscreen and why he thought it had failed. This approach put him more at ease and led the team to discover exactly what had transpired. This was one of the first times human factors was being used to find out why the problem occurred by examining the underlying causes rather than merely allocating blame. In the end, everyone recovered from the ordeal. The worst off amongst the crew turned out to be Flight Attendant Nigel Ogden, who, despite his heroic role, suffered post-traumatic stress from the incident. He was eventually taken off flight status for medical reasons and took a ground job outside the airline, at first working for the Salvation Army. Nigel Ogden's role that day deserved a medal and international acclaim. He was a true hero who had saved the life of his captain against all odds. The later computations of the wind speed and forces show that he had maintained a steady grip in the freezing cold against an equivalent weight that exceeded 500 pounds. As to where he had attained such strength, Ogden remarked simply that he had played a lot of rugby over the years. Captain Lancaster spent some time in hospital, but he recovered remarkably quickly, returning to flying a mere 5 months later. At the age of 55, he left British Airways but carried on his flying career with EasyJet, although he's now retired from commercial flying entirely. First Officer Atchison and the cabin crew members, Nigel Ogden and Susan Gibbons, were awarded the Queen's Commendation for valuable service in the air. In addition, Atchison was also awarded the Polaris Award by the International Federation of Airline Pilots Associations, given to airline crews in recognition for acts of exceptional airmanship or heroic action. Is Jeff stuck on the toilet again?
I think he left momentarily.
Man,
He forgot how long that segment was.
Yeah, may have gone downstairs to get a beer or two.
I think he got locked out of the room.
Probably.
Who's in
Hey,
charge
hey,
of
hey.
underwear?
You got his underwear.
You guys talking about me?
There he is.
You know what? I made the mistake. I took my phone. I was listening to it on YouTube app on my phone. I forgot there was a delay. All of a sudden, I noticed you guys were all laughing and talking. I'm thinking, wait a minute, I'm still hearing Captain Nick doing his plane tales.
That
Okay,
20-second delay gets you every time.
You know what blew that window pane out, right?
What?
I don't know.
Delta P.
There you go.
Oh, wait a minute.
Where's the
I
bell?
don't have my bell. It's in the bathroom. I was trying to rinse it off with all the beer on it.
Right.
No, really.
You're trying to
It's
ring
in
your
the
bell in the
bathroom.
bathroom.
I'm serious. It was getting sticky because I spilled beer all over it.
Right. Yeah, I was getting sicky in the bathroom, all right.
So I was listening. I was multitasking. I was listening via my my iPhone, and I got another beer, and I got some cold cuts for my dinner.
Ooh. It's like
Very
charcuterie.
nice. All right, so we have a developing story here from a contact of mine in South America about the RJ that went down in Medellin. So apparently, just as this was going on, an Airbus A320, which is no surprise there, declared an emergency because of a fuel issue. You know, a suspected fuel leak, and it was given priority to approach Medellin. And in the meantime, the aircraft in question was put in a holding pattern, waiting for this Airbus 320 to land. And while that was going on, is when this accident happened. So it does appear that fuel starvation may play a role in this unfortunate accident. And that is the latest from a contact of mine in South America. And it's actually pronounced La Mia. And La Mia is it's an acronym for Línea Aérea Mérida Internacional de Aviación. And La Mia is kind of a play on words, which means mine, or in this case, my airline. So
La Mia. Got it.
Kind of exactly La Mia. So that's kind of how that goes.
Oh, okay. Got my bell back while Rick was talking.
Nice.
You really did take it somewhere with you.
I did. I took it to the bathroom. It's all nice and clean now. It doesn't have any beer all over it. It's not sticky.
Very nice.
I'm not lying to you. You only get the honest truth.
That's right.
At the APG.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
All right. Well, and that story, I guess you guys probably already kind of commented on it while I was still listening to it.
No, we were mostly commenting on where you went to, but
Oh, okay.
we were just waiting for you to say something because usually you're the first person to say something and then you didn't.
Yeah.
So then the only thing we could talk about was.
So why don't we pretend that we just finished listening to it?
Okay.
This will be a nice edit point for me. Wow, that is an amazing story. And as Steve in the chat room said, every time he sees a crack in the windshield in an airplane he's flying, he always thinks of this real story and the fact that, I mean, the only thing I can say regarding this whole incident is really sucks.
It really. I remember the first time I read up on this incident was there's this writer. His name is MacArthur Job, and he put out a series of books on air disasters, and I believe this was in volume 1 or number 2. And yes, it was Delta P what blew this window pane out as the aircraft was climbing. The aircraft was being pressurized, and then that air was pushing on that window, and then got to the point where just the bolts that were the wrong bolts, wrong diameter, just couldn't hold the window down anymore. It just blew out. So, excellent job.
It was a foolish design as well, wasn't it, Rick? Because
yeah.
The windows should really be in a plug type. So
exactly right. Exactly right. So that
maybe I misunderstood from how you described it, but it sounds like they were, and they just decided they could fit them from the outside, or was it just the airplane was actually designed that way?
It was designed that way.
Oh, okay. I misunderstood
then. That way, yeah. But and as long as the correct bolts and the proper diameter and the correct torque is used, then obviously there'd be no problem, because countless models like that airplane flew for many years without a problem.
Right.
But it is a little bit of a design flaw, because by definition, when you pressurize an airplane, you want to, I guess, reduce or bring the number of weak spots to minimum, and that is quite the weak spot there. So,
well, and you just think about where the differential pressure is coming from. It doesn't make any sense to have it from the fitted from the outside in instead of the inside out. I mean, like you said, probably design flaw there. So,
well, it was a BAC 111. That's all you have to say about that.
Yeah. One
Captain,
of the 5 companies that make up the Square Bus conglomerate.
Captain Nolike made a good point. He says, when I see a crack in the windshield, I always wonder why they're mooning me. Bam. There we go. There we go.
There it is.
There it is. Okay.
That's what she said.
We haven't heard that in a while.
That's what she said.
There you
go. All right. And, I don't know any stories that involve helping us keep the earth green, but just for the heck of it, I think we need to play.
We're going green. We're going green. We're gonna take care of the earth. We're going green.
Just because.
Yep. We're going green.
What is Dana showing on his screen there?
I
can't tell.
Lightning, reindeer horns. I have no idea.
Fire.
St. Elmo's fire.
St. Elmo's fire.
Another type of crack on the windshield.
Ah, there we go.
It's beautiful.
What kind of crack is that? Okay. Moving on. Let's take over with I'm trying to find where we were on the list. Dun, dun, dun. Oh, how about Don Sebastian, the pre-buy guy? He says, hey, Captain Jeff, finally got to fly on an MD-88 from Wichita to Atlanta. My customer, a flight sim maker, took me first class every place we went. I was impressed by the neatness of the pilots' uniforms, cabin crew announcements, no joshing around like Southwest Airlines. I was in seat 1A. It was noisy because of the slipstream sound. My customer made a 737 flight simulator program. It took him 5 years. He employs many sim guys like himself around the world. Never knew it was so much work. They order the technical drawings and operating manuals from Boeing. He has 50,000 subscribers from all of his flight simulator programs that they've made. I guess he's talking about like the PC sim, flight sims,
Sounds like it. Sure.
X-Plane and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. But now, almost ready to get his private pilot certificate, he decided to buy this 1979 Cessna 172. So he decided to do my smartphone program. By the way, just an aside, Don's business is kind of checking out airplanes for other folks, and he's come up with a very unique way of checking out airplanes if he's not able to go to the site and actually fly in the airplane. And he'll have the folks with their smartphone cameras on and video playing and basically live streaming the whole inspection. And so Don is doing it sitting in a remote location watching this whole thing going on. So I think that's pretty clever, Don. You've come up with this this whole program to inspect an airplane. Anyway, this is what this hour-long video is about. And then he decided to take me along for a more in-depth inspection. So he put a link to a YouTube video where you can watch this whole pre-buy inspection. He said, P.S. liked your last podcast. Of course, he sent this in to us beginning of this month. So it was not our last podcast, but he said the MC-130 pilot, nose gear steering problem, Miami Hick with Bill Clinton adventure.
I like that one.
And the main man comments about cheap airline tickets. Best podcast during the past year, in my opinion. So thank you for your feedback, pre-buy guy, Don Sebastian. And, I don't know, Don, I thought that show that you were joining me as co-pilot was a pretty darn good show as well. Don't sell yourself short. Anyway, so thanks for your feedback. We always appreciate it. And Enrique writes in, I think that's the way you pronounce Enrique. Is that right, Rick?
You got it right.
Okay. I really enjoy listening to your podcast like many others. I've got the fever, so I have to listen to every episode. What fever is he talking about?
I think it's a syndrome, actually.
Oh, yeah. I mean, APG syndrome. That's what he's talking about. APG syndrome. All right. So currently at episode 19 and up to date with the most recent one. You guys are amazing. Thank you for the podcast. Well, thank you for saying so. We appreciate it. I finally decided to pursue a career in aviation. I'm 33 years old. The odds of becoming a successful commercial pilot for someone at my age are not the best.
I disagree. I completely disagree.
Yeah, we all do.
Absolutely.
So, I need to find a buzzer here somewhere. I can't find it, but that's what you get, buzzer. I was born and raised in Mexico, got a bachelor's degree in communications, moved to Canada a few years later. For the last 5 years, I've been working as a trainer for a large international company. I teach customers how to use their electronic devices. I currently taking an online leadership certificate, doing flight school part-time. I wish I could do flight school full-time, but I can't go without an income. In fact, flight school will get me in debt, but as a price I'm willing to pay to achieve this dream. The tricky part will be what to do after I get my commercial license. Flight instruction, a job that doesn't require many PIC hours. Only time will tell. Thank you again. Looking forward to the next episode, catching up with the old ones. Wish you all the best, Enrique. So, Dana, do you have any ideas for Enrique as far as how he can get some hours after he gets his commercial?
Certainly, take the first job that comes along to build time. I mean, it's all about building your time, and flight instructing is always an option, but certainly that takes a lot more investment past the commercial. Used to be the way would be to fly checks. That's kind of dried up since the internet. But certainly banner towing, if you're close to the ocean at all, or
fly skydivers, like you mentioned before.
Skydivers, what I did. I actually used to commute I worked a full-time job. I owned an airplane, would hop on the airplane the weekend, fly up to fly the skydivers, fly home after I was done flying the skydivers. And that's how I built my time. But I would absolutely, just like everybody else kind of squirmed and said, at 33, you are not by any stretch of the imagination too old. What I would say is if you really have a true desire to fly, do everything you can do to build as much time as quickly as you possibly can, because at 33, time is not on your side as you get, if you're only doing, 30, 40, 50, 60 hours a year, by the time you're 40, maybe you'll be hireable. But right now, at 33 and looking at commercial, by 35, realistically, you could probably be flying for at least a regional, if not moving up by the time you're 37, 38 with the shortages coming. Also, one other thing I want to mention, where was the Rican? Is he in the U.S. or is he
Canada right now? I think
Canada.
Okay.
Yep.
A lot of these small regionals are starting to offer or look at ab initio programs, and that's taking you basically from even a non-flying person all the way up through and guaranteeing you a position. As long as you interview and pass it, they'll kind of pay. And I hear a lot of rumblings of that coming down the pike, and that's going to be, I think, a lot sooner than later. So there's a lot of opportunity, I think, that's coming down the pike. Just keep your eyes open and keep on looking at the regional websites like Eagle, well, not Eagle, but it's Envoy now.
Envoy.
Yeah, Pinnacle and all those guys, because I think it's going to come.
Isn't JetBlue? Don't they have programs or?
I think they're in the process of starting one.
I think they are.
Yeah,
But they're not quite there yet. No,
they're testing it.
So.
Yeah.
It's coming. It's the shortage is very much here. I've got my friends over in the hiring department at Acme Airlines, and I was a new hire pilot mentor with that, and see the experience coming through, and it's drying up pretty quick. I mean, the military is one big source of military pilots, and that was big from the past. But now you get military pilots flying drones. By the way, Syracuse, New York was the first time I've ever flown with a military drone in the pattern of a commercial airport. But those drone pilots don't count towards flying time. And then, of course, the regionals are facing this FAA mandate with a 1,500-hour minimum to be able to hire anybody. So the pilot supply is drying up real quick. The regionals are having classes go unfilled. And you get even the majors now. I've heard a couple of situations where they get a class with Acme and then go over to another unnamed airline because it's closer to home. So it's happening. It's here. So keep your feet to the ground and build those hours as quickly as you can. Take whatever you can get your hands on.
Dana, are you still a new hire mentor?
Recently I gave it up because I actually thought there was going to be another opportunity in the company and interviewed for it, and they didn't hire anybody for the positions that they were offering. So no, I'm no longer.
Okay. Steve was saying, Dana, get me an interview.
Yeah. I wish it was that easy.
Yeah.
For those folks trying to get on with the majors, they actually have a scoring method now. This is something, because I was new hire pilot mentor, that they're using, and they score people based on their desirability. In other words, college degree, type of flying they've done, and it's a grading system from A to B, C, D, and F, and so forth. So that's how they're pulling from the pools, and it's that A pool, I can tell you, is drying up real quick because you might have Acme Airlines might say they have 14,000 applications on file. Well, guess what? FedEx, UPS, United, blah, 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 blah. They all have 14,000 applications on file. So it's same pool. So that pool is actually drying up, and the regionals are not able to fill the classes, and it's becoming an issue real quick. And the only thing that I can see, honestly, that would actually stop this flow is, unfortunately, any type of major world event. Something like September 11th, something like that could put a kibosh, and hopefully something like that doesn't happen, because you get captains like Captain Jeff and Captain Nick over there that they're just getting close to retirement, and it's by 2020 it's 800 pilots a year. Do the math on that per month that are going out the door and that have to be replaced based on the current flying. So it's definitely looking. I'm the optimistic pool. It's definitely looking really positive. So the faster you can get those hours, if you really want to do it, there are ways to do it, even if you have to take an income cut. But yeah, it's coming. It's here. I promise you.
It's crazy. So I'm flying with all these young guys now. The co-pilot on this trip he's been with the company for 3 years. Like, he's an old head. I think he's already at 70% captain in Atlanta if he wanted to bid to the left seat.
No,
and he's only been with the company for 3 years. We have guys who were just hired in July who have already received a bid for captain in New York. It's like this world that I don't recognize, because I was like, I made captain at 12 years, and I was thinking to myself, if I made it around the 12-year point, that would be fine. And now people are, it's crazy talk. I'm listening to these guys on the jump seat and right seat, and they're very young guys in their early 30s, and they're talking about bidding captain. I'm thinking, huh? Bidding captain? Are you crazy?
Yeah, we have a 4-month captain at Acme now. 4 months.
I flew the guy was all the rage before that, who had been the 2-year guy that got the Atlanta captain spot. He was my co-pilot a couple trips ago. A really sharp guy, and but that's nothing compared to the guy that's only been with us for 4 months, which I think is crazy. And by the way, the young guys that I'm flying with right now and the jump seater they were agreeing. That's crazy. Wait till you're off probation before you upgrade to captain. Yeah, that's probably
but as soon as you get that upgrade, the probation's over.
Yeah. Well, I know, but you know what I mean.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Anyway, it's an amazing world. So as Dana says, things are really accelerating, and the old guys like me are moving out of your way. And it's a great time if you want to pursue a career in aviation, especially major airline pilot flying. That's kind of a redundant term.
Like airline pilot guy.
Yeah, airline pilot guy stuff.
Airline pilot.
This is the time to do it. Anyway, so good to hear from you, Enrique, and I hope that you have a great career. I think you will. I think everybody agrees. 33, not too old.
Nope.
Hey, our good friend and fellow beer lover and Auburn War Eagle guy, because his wife is from Auburn, Tillman, we love you, man. And he sent us some feedback. He says, I'm not drunk dialing, but I'm definitely drunk recording. Anyway, as poems seem to be a thing lately, I decided to bring out the old rhyming skills inspired by the Southern truism. If you can't duck it, you probably don't need it anymore. I wrote a limerick. Enjoy. This is Private Pilot Tillman from Berlin.
Nice. A mad dog once flew to Nantucket. With a fuselage so long, the pilot struck it. On the runway so hard, though the FO screamed, retard! But the old pilot said, we'll just duck it.
Thank you.
It's a beautiful limerick.
Very nice.
Beautiful.
That's awesome.
That deserves a round of applause, I think.
As a Boston guy, it's not what I used to say about people from Nantucket.
I'm sorry. The applause was so loud I didn't hear what you said, Dana.
I said, as a Boston guy, it's not what I said about the people from Nantucket.
Ah.
We're in a family show. I can't say it.
That's right. Thank you. It'll save me some work in editing this thing. All right. Let's continue with here's some good audio feedback. I mean, it's all good audio feedback, but here's some more good audio feedback from Jacob in Austria.
Hello, APG crew. This is Private Pilot Jacob from Austria. Just listening to episode 213. I know, a little bit behind. But there was a quite interesting discussion about marketing names and where the names of the Boeing fleet came from, the 717, 727, and so on. So I was wondering if you guys know the same answer for Airbus. Why do they name their fleets like 320, 340, 330, and so on? So maybe a question for the odd curmudgeon. Nick, maybe you can help us with this one. Thank you very much for the very interesting and very, very good podcast. Enjoying it every week, listening to it on the long commutes to work. Keep up the good work, and all the best from Austria. Bye-bye.
Can I add one thing in that comment?
Yes.
Yes. 717 is not a Boeing.
Nah, I hate to differ. The original one was a Boeing.
No, it wasn't.
The KC-135 was the original 717 that was built by Boeing.
He is correct.
Yeah, KC-135.
Not the present Boeing 717, but
Correct.
the original Boeing 717.
Sorry about that, Nick. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Nick.
Oh, you want me to answer? Yeah, sure. No
Yeah, because you're the Airbus expert.
All right. Okay. Well,
None of the rest of us know anything about it.
digging around. There are various concepts, ideas, thoughts. One of the ones I like is that it was initially a joke put forward by Arthur Howes of Hawker Siddeley. Hawker Siddeley was part of the initial group that formed Airbus, and they had a meeting at Sud Aviation headquarters, and Howes put forward an off-the-cuff remark that the first aircraft should be called the HSA 300. He said that H stood for Hawker Siddeley, S stood for Sud Aviation, and Air for Airbus. 300 he just plucked out of the air because it was a good round number. It was only meant as a joke because Howes knew full well that HSA was also the initials for Hawker Siddeley Aviation, which would have bent the noses of the French and German participants. But he followed up the joke with a more serious comment, calling it the A300 would put it ahead of Boeing alphabetically on all the aircraft lists.
Whatever makes you feel better there, Nickster.
So, well, mate, you know what it's like. You want to be at the front of the telephone book if you want to get an order. As the aircraft took shape, the later versions became known as the A300B to distinguish it from the original, but they refined further B1, B2, B3, etc. But later, when Airbus adopted a shorter version, they gave it initially the designation B10, so it would have been the A300B10, but that was later abbreviated to the A310. So from there, they realized that they had a system now. So subsequent Airbus models were 310, 320, 330, 340, all except, of course, for the 380. Come on to that. The numbering system also allowed for in-between variants, so you could squeeze in a few similar variants to, say, the 320. You could have the 319 and the 321, etc. So the A380, they wanted something a bit special for that, and they decided that number 8 looked a little bit like the tall figure 8 fuselage, double bubble fuselage, double deck fuselage, whatever you want to call it, of the 380. So that was given a unique name, but of course after the 340, the new 350 just follows the routing. Now, of interest, an alternative explanation was the first Airbus was going to be a 300-seater, so that's why it was called the A300, and other variants built on from there. In fact, it had less than that, but that original design was for 300. What's interesting is you can also tell a little bit about the engines from the rest of the number. So if, for example, you've got an A320-200 with International Aero engines, the 2 is for the series, so A320, say 200 for the 200 series. The 3 after would be for International Aero engines, and the engine version will be 1, so you would therefore get a designation A320-231. And for those who are particularly anal about this, if you get a 0, it's General Electric, 1 is CFM, 2 is Pratt & Whitney, 3 is IAE, 4 is Rolls-Royce, 5 is CFM, 6 is Engine Alliance, and 7 Pratt & Whitney. So you can tell what engines they've got by looking at the full designation of the aircraft.
Wow.
So I thought I have a BMW 3, or I used to, BMW 320i, and that was the 3 series, and the 2.20 was for the 2-liter engine. So that's not the same kind of deal then as the Airbus.
I don't know, but I've asked my German friends.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Western technique.
I don't know if anybody's put this together. Oh, again, Rick.
No, I was going to ask Jeff, is that the BMW you parked at the airport and never saw again?
Yeah, that I permanently parked at the airport on fire.
On purpose.
Please don't talk about it because it's going to make me very sad.
In long-term parking.
Yeah, and then I came back from a trip and it was gone.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to get back into that because it's going to make me cry.
Good stuff.
I'll have to hear that story sometime.
Anybody's ever picked up on this, but think about the aircraft manufacturers out there. Airbus, A, Boeing, B, Canada Air, C, D for Douglas Corporation, E for Embraer, F for Fokker. You ever think about that?
So nice and orderly.
It's orderly.
G for Gulfstream. And
G, well, yeah, Gulfstream, sure. I was going to go there,
else I
but
got?
that's not quite
H for
airline.
Hawker.
Yeah.
H for Hawker, yeah.
I.
Well, no I, but you got Mitsubishi.
Yeah.
And
Mitsubishi Jet.
McDonnell Douglas.
No, we already talked about Douglas.
Oh, did you?
That's a D.
Yeah, well, D.
McDonnell
I don't know. The only things I can think of are Cessna and Piper and Beechcraft. And
Q for, I can't think of anything there. Huh. Interesting.
Q series.
Great fun.
Yeah, Q series.
The Q series, yeah. Well, so that was a great question, Jacob. And I think that Captain Nick rather thoroughly answered it. So
nailed it.
Nailed it. Yes, absolutely. That's probably not the best sound effect to play for that, but that'll do it.
Sounds like a nail at all.
No, I don't have a nail. How about
Not like a hammering sound.
you just keep making it worse. You just ring the bell, I think.
Okay.
There
Thank
you go.
Thank you. All right. How are we doing on time? We're fine. Although, Nick, how late is it there?
Well,
is it like almost 2 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah, and I'm going to be up in 4.25 hours. So
oh my gosh.
What?
I might drift away a little early.
Yeah, well, go ahead and take off now if you'd like.
Well, unless there's anything else you need to cover.
Let's see. Let me see if there's anything else here that you might be.
There's actually not that much left, huh?
No.
Well, I'll carry on for another 10 minutes and then I'll head off.
All right. I just feel bad having you stay up so late.
I'm very glad you feel bad for me. That's nice. Makes me give me a really fuzzy feeling.
And by the way, again, and I know I say this all the time, but those Plain Tales recordings, I mean, I know you put a lot of time and effort and energy exploring and doing the research on them and everything else, but the production quality is just top notch, and I do appreciate the fact that you do that.
No, those are awesome, Nick.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
I learned. I mean, most of them I don't know anything about, so I learn something every time.
You're appreciated for that, as well as everything else you do for us.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Let's see. Garrett writes, hello again. Wondering if you guys had seen the movie Living in the Age of Airplanes by Brian Terwilliger. Terwilliger? Brian T.
Isn't that Sideshow Bob's last name?
Is it?
Yep, it is.
From The Simpsons?
Uh-huh.
Really? So how would you say that then, Rick?
I'd have to ask Sideshow Bob, but I'd say Terwilliger.
Okay.
And I'm not kidding. That is his last name.
Okay.
Look it up.
Well,
cool.
Yeah, it does say film by Brian J. Terwilliger. But I'll have to look at Sideshow Bob.
I wonder if he has crazy hair like him. I bet he
Hopefully.
does.
Hopefully.
Yeah, I can only hope.
Okay. Getting back to this. Sorry, Gary.
What were we talking about?
I don't know. It doesn't matter. It just recently came out a few weeks ago on Blu-ray and digital download after a limited theatrical release. Or theatrical release is another way to say that. I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are if you have seen it already. I have not. I remember seeing the theatrical trailers, but I have not.
I have it right here in my hand, but I haven't watched it yet.
Oh, well,
Look at that.
put it on. Let's watch it.
All right, here we go. I'll just pop it in.
I'll get the pop.
Pop it in.
Yeah.
No, I haven't
actually,
seen it
I downloaded it. Actually, I saw it. It's about 45 minutes, just under an hour, and it's a lot of it's a little bit of history there, and it's a lot of eye candy really, because it's got very, very nice just the camera work, and just the photography is just great. All sorts of airplanes, all kinds of airports all over the world, and it kind of walks you through basically the history of aviation and how long the human race did not fly, and how fast commercial aviation progressed from 1903 onwards. So
yeah,
it's one of those. It's one of these films I really wish I'd actually seen in IMAX, because I bet just the the way it was filmed would be so stunning on those big screens. So, but I've got it on Blu-ray. We'll see how it compares.
Well, let's all of us go over to Steph's house and we'll watch it in her personal IMAX home theater.
Excellent.
I have one of those.
I know you do. That's why
she really does. It's in the basement. It's awesome.
Someday.
The visuals were gorgeous, and I think its story did a good job of reminding us how far we've come in the last 100 plus years since the first flight at Kitty Hawk, and to really see how flying has brought people to places that would have been impossible just a little over a century ago. I would guess Captain Nick will appreciate a good several minutes of shots entirely of various A380s. He'll also probably get a kick out of seeing a 747 in the opening scene in a less than glorious state in a desert boneyard, though I'm sure it'll be much to Rick's dismay. It's not long. It's not a long movie at only 48 minutes for the main feature, but the extras in roughly another 45 minutes. Well worth the time to see the beautiful side of flying, just like Terwilliger's previous movie, 1-6 Right.
Yeah, I think the scene of the 747 could have been a bit longer. I think they could have
dwell on that a little.
It's like that could have been a good 48 minutes, and then the rest of the movie.
Of 747s rotting in the desert. That would be lovely.
They're making that movie next, just for Nick. Just exclusively for Nick.
Let's see what happens let's see if an A380 gets even close to being in service for.
Yeah, I've got a question for you, Rick. How fast are those 747s in the desert going?
Faster than a square bus, for damn sure.
Okay, guys, settle down.
Wow.
Along the same lines of taking a renewed look at aviation, each of you have spoken a lot about procedures, checklists, handbooks, other formal processes when it comes to various aspects of flying, occasionally triggering choruses of rickets and frogs. But are there still a few things that are done more out of tradition or, gasp, superstition? Something that's done just because? Or perhaps a simple personal prayer before starting the engines, if you're so inclined? I know that structure and process have been implemented to improve safety, but in my mind, maintaining traditions and such can be a good thing. It can bring a greater sense of belonging, community, and history to people, rather than just being a group of individuals almost mechanically going about their work day in and day out. doing the business of getting a plane with its passengers and cargo from point A to point B. I would imagine that for captains, Jeff and Nick, their time in the military would have all sorts of examples of traditions, probably some of which would have to go unmentioned in a family-friendly podcast such as APG. How about in the world of commercial and general aviation? Okay, I've rambled on long enough. Thanks again for the great show. Always clear skies, unlimited visibility, and tailwinds, but only when desirable. To each of you, and God bless Garrett. So, traditions and gasp, superstition. Anything?
Well, I don't know. I've been in that committee at Red for 22 years now, and the guys that kind of run the show with regards to aircraft flight operations and our checklists and things have changed several times over the years. And what tends to happen is, particularly in the old days when we had a proper chief pilot, he would come from one old airline and he'd tend to drag his old cronies into similar positions around him. And between them, they'd all sit down and work out how they could best change the standard operating procedures to reflect their experience. Now, after a little while, that generation would move on and another generation would pitch up and exactly the same thing. They would go, well, we've all come from this airline and we used to do it differently. So we don't like these old SOPs. So about every 5 years, the SOPs have all changed. And you go to yourself, what was wrong with the old ones and why? There's no real logic to it. Thank heavens that finally, I think probably because they're worried about if they have a problem in the future and we get sued, they'd rather Airbus carry the can than the company. So they've decided to change everything eventually over to pure Airbus. So now they can't be blamed.
That doesn't guarantee that it's not going to happen with them either.
No,
I mean, I've seen it in the military, and I know you have too, and I've seen it at Acme Airlines for the last 28 years. I mean, flying that 727 every few years, as you just mentioned, new people show up in the what we call the fourth floor at my company, and they decide this is the way we're going to do it. This is a better way to do it. And just always reinventing the wheel, and it's just like drives everybody out there, operators, crazy. Like, what are you doing?
I can't tell you how happy it makes me to hear that this happens in aviation, because it happens in other fields too, and it's just as frustrating. So, yeah.
It really is. Just when you think you have it down, a new amendment comes out, and just as the new amendment comes out, you have a line check, and then you're that guy.
Yes.
You're that guy who didn't, read that one amendment, and now you look like the complete, moron.
Excuse me, sir, but I believe that the new procedure requires that you do whatever.
It's like, oh, come on.
You know what? But I've done it this way forever, and it works just fine.
Serious? Oh man.
As regards to military traditions, all I can say is that the Navy guy said of the Air Force that we didn't have traditions, we just had bad habits.
That's true, actually.
As far, I'm not a superstitious person at all, but ever since I started flying airliners, right before I set foot on the airplane, I'll give the fuselage two little taps, just saying, just be nice to me, treat me well, and then I've always done that. And then when I'm upstairs or up at the flight deck, before we push back, I do say a little prayer. I always have, and I always will. So
yeah,
kind of works for me.
I do the same.
Haven't HR gone on to you, Rick, about you touching the airplane?
What's that?
Haven't HR gone to you yet about touching the airplane? Don't you have to go and do one of those special courses?
Nick, but the airplane has not completed yet.
No, that was actually the last amendment. It is now SOP.
If you go around touching the French ladies like that, they'll get upset.
Oh, no, they won't. More, please.
Wow.
Ego as big as a Boeing pilot.
I've mentioned when I do walkarounds, when I go out there and do the walkaround, I always do a sign of the cross on the nose of the aircraft and kind of do a little personal blessing, and ask to keep us safe from all perils, whether it be weather, mechanical, or people related issues. And that's because I'm a man of faith, and that's just something that I like to do.
Yeah, I have a little Buddhist I take around with me, like that guy from the movie Air America. And he splashes the front of the airplane with holy water. So it works for
Really?
me.
So,
Yeah.
what does he do anything to your hotel rooms as well, or?
No. I leave him at the airport. I don't take him to the hotel.
I'm just wondering.
I don't know. I
right.
got nothing. I don't have any.
I kick my
superstitions.
airplane every time.
Do you? Just keep it in line,
kick it in line, kick the tires.
Yeah,
Nice.
Light the
Proverbial. Make sure they don't fall off.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Not like Rick touching something really big and hard.
Okay.
Doesn't get it done for me.
That's what she said.
I'm going to leave that one alone.
It is a Boeing after all.
Yes. Let's see. Oh, this is funny. I thought, well, sort of. I guess it depends on your perspective. We talked about the fact that they've passed the authorization to expand Heathrow and build that new third runway. Of course, I think, as Nick would probably agree, they're a very, very long way from actually that happening.
Oh, yes.
But I thought that this was very funny. David Powell said, he sent us this link to a theguardian.com article. And he said, more news. I should not laugh at this one, but the prospect of British Airways paying to demolish their own head office does raise a wry grin. And so the article talks about the fact that the BA boss is shocked to find out that the third Heathrow runway will raise his RAZE, his headquarters. And I guess that they spent a lot of money and time on this beautiful headquarters building at something they call Waterside HQ. 6 U-shaped buildings are linked via bridges under a glass roof. And a nice picture of it here in this article. And the boss of Heathrow's biggest customer, British Airways, only discovered that building the airport's planned third runway would require the demolition of his airline's head office after looking at a map. Willie Walsh, the chief executive of BA's parent company IAG, claimed that despite the group being responsible for about half of all flights from or at the London hub, he received no formal warning of the proposed demolition. He said, "We were never actually informed or advised by Heathrow that they intended to knock down our headquarters."
Wow. Seems like a form of karma there, doesn't it? A little bit. Just
well, there's a way around that. You could build the runway kind of loops around it. It'd be kind of
just a curved runway.
Yeah, a bit of a hump go over the top.
There you
go.
Just put it on an angle. Well, I mean, just have a nice grade on it to build it over the top of that building.
I'm sure they'll figure it out. Yeah, they'll figure it out over a nice cup of tea or whatever it is they do over there.
So, have you heard anything about that locally?
No, I hadn't, but I can't wait to tell my friends.
So I thought you might enjoy that.
Yeah, very good.
Interesting. So yeah, I think we're a long way away from ever seeing another runway built at Heathrow, but we'll enjoy the whole process here at the APG.
Jeff, I'm going to slip away now. It's
okay.
Quite late
Nick,
here.
All right.
Good night, and thank you very much for.
Yeah, enjoy the rest of the show. Bye, everyone. Bye, Rick.
See you.
Cheers, Anna.
Take care.
Bye,
everyone.
Cheers.
Okay. And we're only going to be going a little bit longer here because we're getting close to 3 hours. Just quickly, Justin sent this feedback, and he sent a picture as well. It's his daughter, 7-month-old daughter, on Halloween, and she is dressed up as a pilot. And it's
wow,
this is the most adorable thing I've ever seen. Like pilot, but like with the black tutu, and it's awesome.
Yeah,
you gotta take a look at this picture.
Pilot. I'll definitely put it in the show notes so that everybody can see this beautiful little girl. But anyway, Justin says, attached is the ATC clip from American Airlines declaring an emergency at John F. Kennedy. I heard multiple takes on why they declared an emergency, one being that they were low on fuel. The other was that they could not land with the winds on the other runway. But I have a question. What is this? Was this just an impatient pilot that wanted to get on the ground? what are the repercussions of declaring an emergency if there was not an actual emergency on board? And so I don't know if we need to play the clip again. We've played it on previous episodes, but I'll put a link to it in the show notes so you can listen to it. But basically, American Airlines Flight 2 was coming in from across the pond, and it was a long flight, and the winds at JFK were 320, gusting to 35, I think, and the runway they were using at the time was 22 left, and they were having trouble with the frequency for 22 left, although there were visual conditions at the time. They were running visual approaches, and basically American 2 Heavy said, we can't accept that runway because, think about it, there was like a 100 degrees off the runway heading, so it's basically a pure crosswind gusting to 35 knots, and for the airplane that Dana and I fly, that would be, out of limits. 30 knots is the limitation for us, and for a lot of airplanes, I don't know a lot of airplanes that will go all the way up to 35 knots. I'm not sure about the 747.
I landed with 35 knots crosswind in Guam the other day. That was interesting.
I'll bet it was. Is that your limitation on that airplane?
No, 38.
38. Wow.
Pretty close.
But we've talked about this several times.
Right.
There isn't really a limitation of crosswind. It's more of a guideline. The reason
Well, it depends on the company you're flying for. At Acme,
I'm talking about the manufacturer.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Max demonstrated
it just so happened that like the day that they were certifying the airplane, that
Right.
was the highest crosswind component they were able to find. So that's how it gets certified. But airlines do have limiting crosswind factors as per their FOMs.
Good point.
Well, then you just become the test pilot at that point. So
exactly.
Yes.
Good luck to you.
But in this case, that was a concern. It wasn't that they were tired and they just wanted to get on the ground and get on with their lives. It was, hey, look, we've flown for many, many hours, and now we're either at or beyond our crosswind limit. And I think it was beyond their crosswind limit. And they said, we can't accept it. And the controller, as those of us who have flown into Kennedy and have experience with them, sometimes they aren't always out there to do everything that you're asking them to do. And basically this crew was saying, we need 3-1 right because of the winds. And it was basically like, okay, whatever, continue on 22 left. And finally they got to the point where they got to the end of their string, and they said, we're declaring an emergency, and we're going to fly an approach to 3-1 right. And there was a little argument going on between them, and they finally the controller realized, oh, this guy's not kidding. He is going to fly a pattern, and he's going to land on 3-1 right, regardless of what was going on at the airport. I don't know if there was a low fuel state going on. I don't know what the background was or the setup to this whole thing. But it was not. I just wanted to make a point, Justin, that he was declaring an emergency when there was not an actual emergency on board. Well, I'm not sure what you mean by that. I mean, anytime that you think that you require expedited handling, and that's an emergency. It doesn't matter if you have a fire on board or anything else going on as far as mechanically or anything else.
But it's more about it's more about not the fact that there's an emergency. It's just the captain is using his emergency authority, FAR 91.3, and that's what it's all about there. So it's just by using that, it is now up to the captain to just basically bring the aircraft down in the way that he thinks is the best way to do it. Not because there's an emergency, but because that's the safest course of action.
Right.
So
well, and the other factor is that the controllers think that they are in complete control, and not always is that the case, because they were trying to force that airplane to land on a runway that the wind was either at or very close to the crosswind limitation, which is not a safe course of action. At that point, the controller was not being agreeable, because it was going to ruin the whole entire flow of things there at JFK. And that's when the captain said, listen, I'm going to do this whether you like it or not, because it's not safe for my airplane. And it forced him in that corner, and he did it because ultimately controller thinks they own everything. And that wasn't the case. I mean, that was a safer course of action. I mean, I've had,
and the other magic word for pilots too is unable. So if you really can't do something because your aircraft's unable or you're unable, just say unable, and see what else you can get back from the controller there as well. So.
Yeah, he was getting a lot of pushback from the controller, and basically you could, we'll again put this link in the show notes. You can listen to the audio here if you haven't already, but you can really just hear in his voice how, I think both from the first officer and the captain, how upset they were about the fact that they weren't being listened to. The controller, I mean, was hearing what they were saying, but he wasn't doing anything about it. And finally he said, okay, that's it. Stick it. We're going to do this and clear everybody out of the way. And I guess the repercussions, anytime you use your emergency authority, you're going to have to, you may have to, justify its use. And that's fine. Most of us will say, oh, sure, I'll be happy to talk to anybody about this because it was all, based on safety of the airplane, safety of the passengers. And that's why I used that emergency authority card. And, so I'm sure that nothing ever happened to the crew. And I'm not sure if anything happened to the controller in this instance or not. But it finally got his attention when they just started flying the airplane where they wanted to fly it. And the controller's going, what are you doing? You're messing everything up.
Exactly. Well, think about it. I mean, just try to correct me if I'm wrong here, but 2-2 left is the short runway. The approach itself, that's usually an offset because you're going to fly a V or a 2-2 left, so you have that to contend with. And then the fact that you have a very, very strong crosswind, very high gust factor, means that you have to fly the approach faster than you normally otherwise would, and then on top of that, land on a very short runway. And so it's just things just kind of add up. And it's kind of like putting a rope around your neck. All these factors, they're kind of stacking up against you. So why you put yourself in that position? And if you feel like the safest course of action is in fact landing into the wind, which is really the way things should be, then that's what you got to do, and that's what you did. And I commend him for sticking to his guns and doing what he thought was right. So
I think we all do.
Yep.
Yes. So I agree.
All right, Justin. So hopefully that cleared up that. Thanks again for that beautiful picture of your daughter that we'll put in the show notes so everybody can benefit from it. And had one more here in the notes here, but we're getting close to 3 hours, so I'm going to go ahead and move that one to the next show. And we're going to go ahead and shut it down and tell you that if you want to learn more about the show and the crew and the community coffee fund and other stuff, other ways to watch and listen to the show, head over to airlinepilotguy.com, the website, and we do have a free mobile app both on the iOS and Android platforms. On Android, it's on Google Play. Just do a search for Airline Pilot Guy. On the iOS App Store, again, Airline Pilot Guy, and there you'll be able to listen to the podcast, watch the YouTube videos, get push notifications, etc. And so check that out as well. And social media, Dr. Steph, our social media expert, will tell you about that.
I don't know when I became the social media expert here, but
just now.
Gladly take that on.
You are now the social media expert.
It is official.
All right.
It's official.
It is decided. Yes. So if you want to follow us on social media, you can head over to Twitter. Our Twitter handle is @APGCrew. There you can find all four of us, Captain Jeff, Captain Nick, Miami Rick, and myself. We will interact with you there. You can also find all of our individual Twitter handles pinned at the top of that Twitter feed. If you would like to follow us on Facebook, it's facebook.com/airlinepilotguy, all one word. Seems like Captain Jeff and Captain Nick do most of the posting there, but I think we all have access to it. And if you are one of those folks who likes to be in a perpetual chat room, if you enjoy the chat room on the live show and want to continue that ad nauseum, ad infinitum, ad whatever the word is in Latin that I don't know.
Ad hoc.
That is on an app called Slack, and you can gain access to that by sending your email address to APG community member Hillel. He's at HI11E1 on Twitter, and he will get you access to the Slack account. So.
Yeah, become part of the community if you already haven't done so, because that's really the value of this whole show. I mean, our show wouldn't be anything without our community, and we have a great time. And oh, you know what? I forgot to mention something, and it's probably way past time to mention it, but I'm going to do it anyway. We have a very special member of our community who was also one of the co-hosts of a fantastic aviation podcast in the UK, Plain Talking UK. And I believe today, the 29th of November, of course now in the UK,
well, we missed it just slightly.
The 30th, but let's just pretend we're still on the 29th in the UK. Happy birthday, Matt Smith, the co-host of the Plain Talking UK podcast. So happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Matt. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you.
There you go.
What those guys said. Happy birthday, Matt.
Happy birthday, man.
That's still not going to sing.
It was a milestone birthday for him too.
Yes.
One of the big things.
Yeah. So
Hope it was great.
I meant to mention that at the beginning of the show, but I forgot to put it in the notes, and that means I forget to talk about it. I didn't write it down, but I don't know why I thought of it just at the last moment here. But so, happy birthday, Matt! And so let's see what else. We talked about the site and the apps and the social media and the Slack thing, and that's about all I can think of. So until next time, wishing you clear skies, unlimited visibility, and tailwinds. Take care, and God bless.
See you guys soon. Woohoo!
Take care, y'all.
Bye-bye, guys.
Boom.
All right.
I didn't do the gobble 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 this time.
Gobble gobble gobble. I still can't do that.
Gobble gobble gobble.
I tried. Gobble gobble gobble.
Gobble, 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 gobble.
I did that at the end of the last show. Did you hear the very end of it? I went ahead and
wow.
I went ahead and Captain Nick said, "What the F was that?"
Really?
Oh yeah.
What? Nick swearing? I don't believe it.
Nick never curses, especially not after that live button is pressed.
Yeah, no, it's never happens.
I love it.
I can only do a slow version of gobble gobble gobble. That's like
gobble, gobble, gobble.
Too many consonants in a row for me to handle. Gobble gobble gobble. I can't even do that either.
No.
Just fail on the gobbles.
Oh man. So hey, thanks everybody in the chat room for hanging out with us.
Love you guys. You're awesome.
Yeah, we do. And thank you all of you in the chat room who are Coffee Fun Cadre members. I see several of you, so thank you for that. And yeah, so hope you guys have a great week. I'm looking forward to the rest of this week. I have like till Friday. I mean, I'm on a trip until Friday, so I have plenty of time to get the show out, and it'll be published on Friday. So.
Wow, your 5-day trip. That's it's like a month out for you. Huh?
I know, it's like forever.
It stinks.
It's like I'm never going home again.
Yeah.
It's like day 3, he's going to be like, "Oh my God, I still have 2 more days." By day 4, he's going to like, "Oh really? 1 more day?" No.
The hardest part was making sure I had underwear for the whole trip. Plain
socks. Turn inside out.
Inside out. That's terrible. Yeah, no, so here's how spoiled I've become because I've had all these weird little random trips all over the place over the past couple of months. I just looked at the calendar and realized I have 4 weeks of 5 full workday weeks. So 4 weeks without any break from now until Christmas. And I was just like, whoa.
You can do it, Steph. You can do it. When do you go back out again, Rick?
I am back out on Thursday. I fly a commercial to Memphis, and then on Friday I fly from Memphis to Cologne. Then I limo down to Frankfurt Hahn, and then I go to Almaty, Turkey, and then down to Incirlik, Turkey, over to Hong Kong, back to Almaty, back to Liège, and then the whole thing starts all over again. So,
wow.
Yeah, I'll be on the road for Christmas and New Year's apparently. and that is going to. But hey, life of a afraid dog. It is what it is.
Yeah.
And then January we have some pretty cool trips lined up, non-work related, hopefully. So looking forward to that, and we'll see how that pans out.
Are we going to have another episode 200 in January?
We should have done episode 200 part 2 is what we should have done if we were really thinking about it.
I know we must not be doing or planning anything because you guys haven't been bugging me and make sure I have that
Badgering
time
you
off.
to be somewhere. Well, you'll know when that happens.
Steph will shoot. Yeah, she'll suddenly have another conference to go to
Somewhere.
Yeah, another medical
Next time it'll
conference.
probably be in Atlanta, I'm guessing. I feel an Atlanta conference coming on sometime soon.
Okay, good. Yeah. By the way, that fly-in was a blast. Hope to
Yes.
do one of
Yeah,
those soon.
I'm so mad I missed it.
Yeah. You would have
I wish I had
enjoyed
been
that.
able to actually fly in, but gosh,
Yeah, the weather was just not
the weather.
great.
It really was not a good idea. It wasn't. So, yeah.
But
And it was nice.
yeah.
On the way back, I got to stop in Greenville, Spartanburg, have dinner with one of my former med school roommates, and she's my running buddy now. So we planned some more running trips, and it's gonna be fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
Hey, so today I signed up for the Chicago Marathon with a
Woohoo!
minute to spare.
Yes. I was like, I got to send him a reminder that he's only got 30 minutes to do that.
Wow. Marathon, huh?
Now you got to get picked.
Have you
Yours
run
is-
one yet, Rick?
This will be my first one. But
he's got the training down pat though, where he's ready.
Clearly, I don't run.
You'll be ready.
I only run if somebody's chasing me.
Well, even if you don't get in with the lottery, we'll get you into the marathon. It's not gonna be a problem.
Awesome.
I got the inside.
Yeah. I was telling Steph how I'll start running and then I'll zone out and then I'll come back and it's like 7 miles later and I go, that was cool.
I was like, you're fine then. That's exactly what marathon
So,
running
I
is. You zone out for like a good 12,
I
13
don't
miles, and then all of a sudden you're like,
understand
hey, I'm in a completely different part of town. This is
Something
cool.
is wrong with you people.
No.
Really,
Hey,
I'm
you know what?
serious. There's something wrong with you.
You would have. The funny thing is, you would have
What's
told
wrong
me.
with
You would have told me like 2 years ago I was going to do this. I would have been like, no, you must be shrooming.
Yeah.
Well, in the next between tomorrow and the 3rd, I'll find out if I got into the Berlin Marathon through the lottery. So we'll see about that. Fingers crossed.
Berlin.
Nice.
Tillman.
I
Don't
know.
forget your mug.
I'm gonna bring my mug. I'll be showing up at his doorstep. Fill up my mug.
He goes, that was a mistake.
See,
Yes.
you
Tillman.
runners are like wide receivers or defensive backs. You got guys like me that's like a lineman. We don't run very fast or very far.
No.
Yeah.
I don't
I'm
run very
jealous.
fast, but I can run forever at that very slow speed. So
Slow and
marathon
steady
runs.
wins
You're
the
lucky.
race.
Lucky.
Slow and steady. Isn't that Airbus's log motto or something?
Apparently.
Slow and
Yeah.
steady wins the race.
I think we'd all agree with you. The one person here who would disagree has gone to bed.
He's gone to bed
love
now.
it at free reign here.
Yeah.
Speaking of going to bed.
All right, guys.
I haven't had dinner. I'm
Um,
going to have some dinner.
All right, we're going to go ahead and shut her down. So thanks everybody in the chat room again for hanging with us. We love you, as Dr. Steph said, and we really mean that. And we hope to see you again next time we do one of these things live. Take care. Have a great week.
See you guys.